Track nestled in the Australia Mountains near Phoenix, Arizona, has played host to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And today, this little track is a bit of a test, one of two remaining tests to determine one champion.
Man and machine. Today more than ever, it's a struggle for control. Machine supplies the firepower, but man provides the passion.
We're not giving up.
The drive.
Nice and smooth, you'll run him right down.
Sure, you need a fast car, but come on, that's a cliche. You can't just put this baby on cruise control. You need a captain who can adapt to adversity, who can overcome the flaws in the machine.
Getting closer on the balance there. Still need a little more. May not be perfect, but we're not going to give up on this thing.
Because with only 2 races left in the tightest chase in history, Edwards and Stewart are searching for control.
Just keep doing what we're doing. There's a reason we're in this spot. We're the points leaders, so they still got to come get us.
But the truth is, racing like life is a variable event. Control,
You're better than he is. This is our time.
that's an illusion. All that is certain are 2 men, 2 machines, and the Sprint Cup.
We've earned it. We're going to stay up here.
It is time to push the limits of both man and machine.
Just you and that 14 right now, hammer down.
Because every lap,
I see him coming.
every lead change, every pit stop could make the difference in an all-out chase to make the imperfect perfect.
It's a pleasure to welcome you to Phoenix International Raceway and NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Countdown presented by Napa. It was announced last week that this race would be a grandstand sellout. Fans are here to see what has turned into the best championship battle this series has produced ever in the chase. It's a battle of 2 men, 2 machines. There is one of those machines, the 14 car. Will start 8th with its driver, Tony Stewart, already a 2-time champion in the Sprint Cup Series. What about the 99 car, you ask? You don't have to look far. These 2 can just not get away from each other. Carl Edwards will start 9th. 2 drivers, 2 machines, 2 races to go. Hard to believe that after 34 races, there is still no clear-cut leader in the fight for that Sprint Cup Series trophy. Carl Edwards still holds a very slim lead over Tony Stewart after the 14's 4th win of the season. All 4 of them in this chase. Just 3 points, 3 spots on the track, and that is the difference between being a champion and not.
Tony Stewart wins at Martinsville.
He better be worried. That's all I got to say. He isn't going to have an easy 3 weeks.
I think it's going to be fun, and that's nice of Tony to issue that challenge. I'm up for a challenge.
It's not a challenge. I'm telling him what's going to happen.
We'll race hard. They're going to have to race us, too.
I don't care what he said. We're going after him.
Well, he's wound up. He's in victory lane.
We've been nice all year to a lot of guys and giving guys a lot of breaks. We're cashing tickets in these next 3 weeks.
We've got 2 guys that are true superstars in the sport.
There's nothing quite like a little trash talk to add intrigue to competition.
No offense to Tony or anything, but I think that the guys that are behind him are truly the guys that have the biggest chance of doing well.
Like I said, he's making a mistake if he's counting us out.
Tony Stewart takes the checkered flag at Texas, and the championship goes on with the top 2 separated by 3 points.
We're still the points leaders. They're going to have to run that well to beat us these next 2 races.
I don't think we have to say anything. I think our performance today spoke for itself, so he knows already. Trust me.
And we will speak to both Tony and Carl coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's recap. Because Tony and Carl are really right back to where they started in this chase. So far, Stewart has led the way in bonus points and laps led. But you hear it asked all the time, how could Stewart possibly not be the points leader after winning 4 races in this chase? It's right there. The bottom line, it's all about average finish. And at the end of the day, it's all about consistency. And Edwards has had that. This has, though, been the year of the underdog teams who prove it in the postseason. The Green Bay Packers, who were 10-6 in the regular season, went on into the playoffs, played every game on the road, and went on to beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl. In March, it was the UConn men's basketball team. They had to put on a show in the Big East tournament to secure a spot in the Big Dance. Then they put on a show in the big tournament, national champions. And not to be outdone, the St. Louis Cardinals, worst record among all the playoff teams, got into the postseason on the last day of the regular season with a 90-72 record. Then they took down the Texas Rangers to win the World Series. The ESPN Pit Studio this week comes to you from Rattlesnake Hill, one of the best seats in all the house, and not just for the 3 of us, but for the fans as well. And inside that prime position, you'll find us. I'm Nicole Briscoe alongside Rusty Wallace and Brad Doherty. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, Carl and Tony really locked into what is pretty much a tie.
Man, two really good drivers, two headstrong drivers that really are looking to run good out here at this Arizona, this new designed racetrack. And they both flat fly around this race. Tony Stewart, he's a driver that flat knows how to get it done on a new designed racetrack, what we got right here. And Carl Edwards, this guy ran great in the nationwide race yesterday. He's got a lot of track time. He's ready for today.
And he had that opportunity. Yeah. He had that experience. We're talking about Carl in yesterday's nationwide series race. Today's track is a bit of an unknown. Does that experience from yesterday turn into an advantage today for the 99?
Oh, absolutely, simply because he gets to go into that race yesterday and experience race conditions. Even though the cars are different, the power is different, he still has an opportunity to work on his pit stops, to race around people on different parts of this racetrack, to experience what happens to the car when it loads and unloads on certain spots. So absolutely an advantage for Carl Edwards.
Brad, I definitely agree with you, but the guys going up against Tony Stewart, this guy has got, he's, in my opinion, the very, very best at adapting to a new racetrack. He's ran dirt tracks, he's run big tracks, he's run every type of shape of racetrack in the country. And if you ask me who can adapt best to a new racetrack, hands down, it's Tony Stewart, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, if nothing else, I find this just fun to watch. But there has been a bit of trash talking, a bit of jawing, and it's really been more from Tony at Carl. And it does remind me a little bit of what happened last year. In Miami, just a few days before that championship race, Jimmy Johnson looked at Denny Hamlin and says, I don't have anything to lose, but you do. And it had an effect. Is it working now? What do we see?
No, I don't think it's going to work at all right now. You got two really, really, like I said earlier, headstrong drivers, guys that are great behind the wheel. Both have won championships. Carl in the Nationwide Series, Tony in the Cup. They're pretty equal when it comes to their brain. And look, Denny Hamlin was awful good last year, but you had four-time champion Jimmy Johnson he was trying to talk to. That's kind of tough.
But I do find it also interesting on the track, when they went out there to practice for the first time, that video right there, look who was right behind the 99, just stalking him.
Well, it's fun to watch, and Tony's thrown down the gauntlet, and he's messing with Carl a little bit, but Carl's very focused. And the one thing I've noticed is over the past few weeks, he's been more affable, more laughing, more jovial. This weekend, though, in that garage, Carl is very, very serious. Not as many smiles. He and Bob Osborne, his crew chief as well, they're all business. So he's really focused in on going head-to-head with Tony Stewart these last two races.
Head-to-head, I'm going to ask these two a little bit later who they think will have the advantage today. But we wanted to know what you, Sports Nation, what do you think? Who will win this 2011 Sprint Cup Series championship? A lot of you voted. Nearly 55,000. Wow. And oh my, it is a landslide. 54% say Tony Stewart.
I did not expect that, Brad. I thought it'd be much more equal than that.
I did too, simply because Carl Edwards has been just incredibly consistent, and consistency gives you opportunity to win races and win championships. That's amazing.
54%. I'm a little blown away by that. Hey, when we come back on NASCAR Countdown, why this track is a brand new Phoenix. They started digging in February, and what it's become? Big question mark, the big giant unknown. Plus, Kyle Busch will be in the car this weekend, but he'll be without his primary sponsor. The week that was for Busch. Next.
This new
NASCAR Sprint Cup Countdown is presented by Napa. Napa Know-How.
Welcome back to Phoenix International Raceway, where 1 week later, we are able to put to bed a story that dominated the pre-race conversation just last weekend in Texas. That story, the one of Kyle Busch and NASCAR's decision to park him after an incident in the Truck Series race in Texas. It was announced this week that Busch faces a $50,000 fine and is on probation for the rest of the year. But NASCAR cleared him to race this afternoon, as did Joe Gibbs Racing. But primary sponsor Mars, parent company of M&M's, decided it did not want to be on the car, at least these final 2 weeks of the season, saying it will be back in 2012 with Busch as the driver, with the expectation that no future incidents will take place.
I've chosen to do. I want to support Kyle. I feel like that this could have a positive impact on Kyle. I'm committed to him as a person.
I'm sure I have lost some respect with my team, with my sponsors, with my peers, and I understand those consequences. Was there a point in which I thought, do I have a ride? Of course there was. Yeah, I thought that. Was there a point in which Joe ever told me that, hey, we're looking at terminating this? No. Joe has been there and has stuck by my side and has held my arm through this whole deal. And I can't say enough about the man sitting next to me.
When it comes to driving a race car, we want him to drive the race car. I know Mars does too. We want him to drive it the way he's capable of driving it. We think he's one of the gifted people when it comes to just being an athlete and doing the things he did, and we expect him to drive the car that way and be himself.
So Mars said in their statement that they found Kyle's actions unacceptable, that they do not reflect the values of the company. I understand that from their perspective, but what I don't understand is how their decision to not sponsor the car this weekend in Miami is in any way a punishment for Kyle Busch.
Oh, it's not a punishment. It makes absolutely no difference. He's still driving the race car this weekend, so there is no punishment realistically. I mean, let's be honest about this. Kyle Busch is a young man, and unfortunately, he has to live his life out in front of the public, in the public forum, so everyone gets to make these opinions and arguments about him because he has done some things historically that add up to a lot of drama. But what has happened to Kyle Busch this weekend doesn't punish him in any way, shape, form. If you're going to punish a professional athlete, you take away his money and you take away his craft, and you will get his attention. That has not happened here. And for Mars to do whatever they have done, it doesn't really matter. He's racing this weekend.
Well, it did happen last week. NASCAR parked him. They did take away his craft last weekend.
Yep.
Look, I think the guy's been punished enough. I don't know why we're talking about this. I mean, they pulled him out of the car last week. He's a great driver. Why in the world Mars come off the car? I really don't understand that, because all that does is punish the car owner. So that happened. I guess it's the court of public opinion, maybe. And I know big corporations do that, but I think the guy's paid his dues. He drove a little rough, no doubt about that. He's paid for it. Let's move on right now, because I will tell you, this cat right here flat knows how to drive a race car.
The rumors this week were crazy. He's out of a job. No,
rumors,
he's not out
man.
of a job.
Yeah.
He's going to they're going to park him for the season. No, he's not. Long term, because Kyle Busch is not going to make it through another season. He's going to be poked and he's going to be prodded.
Sure.
That's just the way this sport works. Long term, how does this affect him as a driver?
Long term, it won't affect him at all. Look, he learned from what he did wrong. Look, we all know he's a little rough around the edges, no doubt about that. Real aggressive behind the wheel, and sometimes doesn't do the right things on and off the racetrack. We do know that. And he'll pay for this. He'll understand it. But it's not going to affect the way he drives the car. He's a great driver. And if you think you're going to put all these punishments on him and make him do this and do that, you got another thing coming, because this guy is wanted by every car owner in that garage area.
Yeah.
He could simply move from that car, Brad, and you know as well as I do, go to any team out there.
One of the most gifted guys we've ever seen in this sport. He's a very clean race car driver. Puts his race car in some tough positions because he's talented enough to do that. And what I was saying earlier, once we got past last weekend, that's where it should have stopped. We shouldn't even be talking about M&M Mars or anything like that this weekend, because it's irrelevant. It does not matter, and he's racing. So we got to move on.
When you say clean, a clean driver, what do you mean by that?
He doesn't race people dirty. He doesn't rough people up. He doesn't get into people.
What did he do last weekend?
No. What happens to him is his temper. His temper gets the best of him. That was on the racetrack, but it was under caution. Okay, that's not typical of Kyle Busch. When he goes out and races today, you won't see him getting into scrums, running over people, taking advantage of people, knocking them out of the way. He will race them hard, but he is a clean race car driver.
Okay, one last question. When we look in the short run, because we can only assume that this week has been a very dramatic week for Kyle Busch, do we see him racing any differently today?
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I agree with you, Brad. He's going to do what he does best, and that's run hard, but he will have on his mind that he can't do anything out of the ordinary.
But he's a clean race car driver.
Right.
Okay, you both said it. Let's move on. So we move on, and let's talk some football.
There
you ready?
we go, absolutely.
Hey, this week on Monday Night Football, I personally very excited for this one. It's the Vikings and the Packers at Lambeau.
The Vikings are good. I know you love the Vikings.
Oh, you just a little pot stirrer
Aaron
over there.
Rodgers and the
Vikings and the
Green Bay
Packers,
Packers.
ESPN, Monday Night Football, 8:30 Eastern. Also available on Watch ESPN. But it's a big 3 weeks. It's the battle of marquee quarterbacks. Next weekend, it's the Chiefs and two-time MVP in the Super Bowl, Tom Brady. And then the week after that, 2 Super Bowl MVP quarterbacks.
Eli Manning, Drew Brees. That'll be a great ball game. Absolutely.
Coverage begins 7 Eastern, as always, with Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. And coming up next from the desert, where we learned this morning it does actually rain, something to keep in mind. Fuel mileage came into play last year. Could it come into play again this year? We will discuss, and we may even rant a little bit, coming up in just a few minutes. Don't go away. Back at Phoenix International Raceway, and since we were last here in February, a lot has changed. And I don't just mean the seasons or the passing of 34 races. I literally mean the track, a new figure, and a new surface.
Today, the Valley of the Sun is the Valley of Jeff Gordon. He goes to victory lane and wins.
That was cool. I like that. To tear up some pavement, drive that bucket down in there and scoop up that first pavement and dirt. That was fun. What they're going to be able to do here, I think everybody's anxious to see coming back.
It's a lot different than what it was for sure. It doesn't really resemble the old Phoenix very much at all. They put a lot of asphalt down. They totally redone pit road here. Probably know a little bit more after we get more time on the track and get it dusted off and get the grooves running a little bit, but it's definitely a lot different.
You know, there's 30 cars here today. The track temp's a lot lower, so there seems to be more grip. We're running speeds of what we were looking to, and it's been cool.
And when we come here to these tests, we're all trying to learn things and get laps and do our own thing. We're not racing. We're not getting side by side with other cars.
Better fixed about 50% of it. Better getting in.
It's easier to drive now. We've actually fired off on new tires a couple times, and the tire, got a lot of grip.
It's fast, it's smooth. There's not a lot of bumps. Goodyear's brought a pretty good tire. I think it's going to be for a fun race.
You know what's funny? When you look at the specifics, and I mean specifics, I'm talking numbers and banking, this new track is really not all that different from the old track. The banking is very similar. What's different, though, is that dog leg. It's been extended, so the track has a new shape. New track, old track. If you look at qualifying doc, A.J. Allmendinger doesn't seem to care.
He really doesn't, Nicole. The third time in 2 years that A.J. Allmendinger started on the front row here. And A.J., though, we're just talking about the new configuration, the new asphalt, and then, of course, last night, the rain. What is the biggest concern you have, the biggest worry here in early laps today?
I think starting on the outside. With the track got rubbered in a lot yesterday by the end of the nationwide race, but if you saw it at the beginning of it, the guys on the outside really struggled. So I think just trying to get down in line. I think we have a fast Wix Filters Ford, and if we can get in line, I don't think it's going to be hard to get around me. So if we can just slide down and get there, then I think with the competition yellow lap 40, really it's about whether we take 2 or 4 tires. So those are kind of the big questions early on, and then after that, it's just being smart, not making any mistakes, and if we can stay up front, we're going to have a chance to win this thing.
By the way, you heard it here first. Your team tells me you're going to be really good today, so bank on that.
I like that.
Let's go to Jamie Little.
Well, Mark Martin is a 2-time winner here at PIR, most recently back in 2009. You've been in 29 races here, Mark, more than any other driver. How different will it be this time around?
Well, I think it'll be really different. We have had new pavement here once before, but this is reconfigured, and today's mixture of asphalt is quite different than back in the day mixtures, and it lasts a whole lot longer, many more years, but it is a lot more difficult for the teams and for Goodyear to get a hold of, get their arms around the first few years after it's laid. So the rain is really going to throw a wrench into everybody's program. The beginning of the race is going to be a jump ball, and I look forward to it. It's going to be fun.
All right, good insight from Mark Martin, who will roll off 4th today. Nicole?
I like that. Mark Martin talking about jump
That's
ball,
right.
basketball
Mark's
terms there. You can see really from high above how this track has taken on a new shape. So this is what we're dealing with here. Progressive banking in turns 1 and 2. Go around the corner. The dog leg been extended, adding a bit of length to the track, as well as, we'll talk about this, an elevation change. Turns 3 and 4 also have progressive banking, but at a lesser degree than 1 and 2. And then go around the corner to the front stretch. It's now a little bit wider. So I want to bring in our guys in the booth, Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie, and I'm going to start with Dale and Rusty, because you guys this weekend not only drove this racetrack the old configuration. But this weekend, earlier in the week, you got a chance to go out, take the pace car out. We, as in our ESPN family, Shannon Spake right there, were the guinea pigs with Dale Jarrett. Rusty, you had Dave Burns in the front seat. Dave must be a very, very brave man. But why don't you go ahead, take us around. What did you learn on your laps?
Well, let's take a lap around with Kevin Harvick, the number 29 car. Start off in the front straightaway here. We're coming down to turn 1 right now, completely different, designed different corner. It's 10 degrees on the bottom, 11 on the top, so you can run side by side. That actually should work good. But here's where the problem starts. This new design dogleg, you go way downhill, way uphill, and then you go downhill again where the car really unloads itself pretty badly into an 8 and 9 degree bank corner, which again, that area right there should work good. And then off at turn 4 down the front straightaway, DJ.
Yeah, well, you're going to see Kevin Harvick get on the brake right here down in one high braking area. A lot of speed carried into the corner. You can get back to the gas a lot quicker than what you used to here. You have more room off of turn 2. In this dogleg, we're going to see a lot of action here today. And as you mentioned, Rusty, this was the part that got me. The banking of the back straightaway and the downhill part going into turn 3. I think that could be a big problem area today. Turn 4 reminded me a lot of what it used to be. That's going to be a good place if you can stay to the inside to make a pass here today.
Well, a lot of elevation changes this racetrack, Dale. Uphill, downhill, especially down the back straightaway. A lot of drivers actually call it the roller coaster area of the racetrack. It's going to be interesting to see, guys, what happens. A lot of water cooler talk about the design of this racetrack.
And a lot of talk about yesterday, what we saw in the Nationwide Series race, drivers diving below that yellow line. Dale, what do you think?
Well, I think that it used to be grass there, and now they put pavement, and race drivers are going wherever there's pavement and the shortest way around. So they kind of opened it up. I know it wasn't designed to be run like this, but it's a shorter way. I think they may lose a little speed there. I'm not exactly sure how it will work, but we see a lot of problems possibly.
Yeah, the pros and cons are obvious here. I mean, you can see how you cut off the distance, but the cars have to converge to get into that narrow turn 3, and there's a conflict of just not enough room. You see cars getting together there, and the other one negative that I would say is coming off that racetrack and coming back up on it is going to be hard on splitters. Yeah. These Cup cars don't like that.
And drivers were told in the drivers' meeting there's no yellow line rule, and I'm quoting here, we strongly suggest that you stay on the racetrack.
That won't
because
happen.
The drivers who tried it yesterday did not really benefit from going off the racetrack. So after seeing and hearing all of that, how much do you think we'll see drivers go below the yellow line today?
I think you will see drivers go below the yellow line, just like DJ said. These guys are race car drivers. They're going anywhere there's no grass. So I talked to a lot of the drivers as well as owners and people in the garage area, and just to be honest with you, a lot of people do not like this design of this racetrack. They think it's really messed up in polite terms in a lot of spaces, in particular back on that dogleg that Rusty's talked about. So there's a lot of people not happy with this place, but it's new, it's different, it's a change from the old, and we know how that goes. It takes time for some people to kind of work through that. And once that second groove becomes prevalent, I think people will settle down just a little bit.
There were a lot of Cup crew chiefs, including Bob Osborne. We saw him out yesterday watching yesterday's Nationwide Series race with a very critical eye, trying to learn a few things for today. Tim Brewer, our Craftsman Tech Garage crew chief, was also watching with a critical eye. What did we learn yesterday that can translate to today?
What we saw yesterday, Nicole, a lot of the guys utilized the front air dam in this area right here, the brake duct area. They had all this area taped up, so they couldn't conduct a lot of airflow back through the hoses to actually cool the tires and the rotors. So what happened, the rotor right here transferred a lot of heat into the bead. The end result, we had 3 cars on the racetrack that actually burnt the beads out of the right front tire. I look for that to happen more today because these cars have 200 more horsepower getting into that corner. If you don't utilize that airflow, you might throw away a championship today, Nicole.
One of the big complaints after the test in early October was that there was a lack of a second groove. The track tried to rectify that by bringing in a tire dragging machine. It spent 90 hours on the track, dragging 80 tires. We've now had 10-plus hours of practice, qualifying a Nationwide Series race, a K&N Series race, but Mother Nature decided, as we heard earlier, to rain last night. So yesterday, the second groove was there. But now, what are we going to see?
The second groove will come back, and I do like the design of the corners, the compound banking. It's made to run side by side. You see right there, it's working pretty doggone good. I think it's going to come in fairly quickly today, and the way this track is designed, it's going to work in turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Again, the big problem area, the dog leg, is not working like they designed it and it's been causing huge problems, so I'll be watching that all day long. Although I will say, I like what this racetrack done. I like they went out to redesign and try to get their track more current. And we did have some mistakes in the past at other racetracks like Texas Motor Speedway. Turn 4 didn't work. They tore it up and fixed it. If the dog leg doesn't work, they'll just simply have to tear it up and fix it. I do see that happening down the road.
You know, today will be an exercise in patience for these guys, simply because there's a lot of give and take. We heard Tony Stewart talking earlier about cashing tickets. Well, I hope a lot of these guys don't decide to cash tickets today, because they're really going to have to give each other a lot of room, wait on that groove to come in, and race throughout the day until they get to the last run, then go racing really hard, because there is some perilous spots on this racetrack that could cost some people some very, very valuable points today.
It's not so easy, though, to be patient when you're out there.
It's an oxymoron.
Trying to win a championship, Dale.
Yeah, that can be very difficult, but you are going to have to be patient. You got to wait to that second groove. And the thing is even when that second groove comes in, that's all that there is. Just 6 inches outside of that, and you're in real trouble losing a lot of spots. So the drivers are going to rely on these spotters up here to make some deals today. It's not going to be Talladega type, but on these restarts, if you're in that outside lane, your spotter's going to be talking to some friends, or you hope that are going to be friends of yours, that might let you down to that bottom groove.
Yeah, we saw yesterday that outside lane, that if you get out of that second groove, you have to stop. If you don't crash, you're going to lose about 20 to 25 spots because you can't get back in line and you lose so much time. So I think that's going to be one of the things that could change the championship picture if one of these guys happens to get caught out in that lane and then loses all these spots. This is a tough track to pass on.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. 312 laps from Phoenix will certainly be very, very interesting. And just another reason to tune in late in the race. Make sure to stay tuned for NASCAR's nonstop coverage in the second half of today's race, presented by Kobalt Tools. And coming up next on NASCAR Countdown, the pole sitter. Do we have a new Rocket Man? Matt Kenseth.
Man, absolutely.
We'll talk to him. Is this his opportunity to get back in the title hunt? That's coming up next.
What could have been.
Back at Phoenix, we're hoping the clouds stay away from a little early morning rain. Driver introductions are already underway, and there's quite the crowd growing around some drivers, including the points leader, Carl Edwards, a former winner at this track. But if we've learned anything over the past few years here, it's throw out what we've learned here in the past few years, because we've seen 5 different winners in 5 straight races.
Mark Martin started on pole, and he's trying to run away from the field. The caution is out with 12 laps to go.
This is going to be a popular win with the fans. I guarantee you that.
Jimmy Johnson's crew holds serve, but look who's on his back bumper.
Great job, Jimmy. Proud of all of you. Fantastic job today, man.
This track's getting ready to go through a big change.
Caution is on the speedway.
Not a great sight for Kyle Busch.
The first away will be Jeff Gordon. Ryan Newman will get out second.
It's Newman at the line.
We are witnessing a dominant performance today.
12 to 13 laps short on fuel right there.
Just be smooth and keep doing what you're doing.
Here comes Carl Edwards. He's done it.
We got the car. I'm real happy with the car.
Jeff Gordon also involved in the incident.
Everything looks good, Jeff.
New race leader Jeff Gordon moves in and around Ryan Newman.
That's why I love racing right there. Hell yeah!
A lot of crew chiefs are putting emphasis on qualifying this weekend, and it is a chase driver who will start on pole, and perhaps we need to find a new nickname, because look who it is. Matt Kenseth on pole for the 3rd time this season. That is the most he's ever had in a single year. Vince?
Matt Kenseth is 38 points out of the championship chase. A long shot, but at least he still got a shot, so that's most important. Has this race with the circuit configuration become enough of a wild card that you still have a legitimate chance?
Well, I mean, I think until you're mathematically out of it, you feel like you have some kind of chance. Obviously, you need some help or some misfortune by the front couple guys. Plus, you're going to have to run good and finish good. So, not sure how much of a wild card it's going to be until we race, honestly. But like yesterday, the track rubbered up pretty good. So I think it'll be pretty tough. And then I think the race will be pretty good.
Matt Kenseth is starting pole. Doc?
Well, Kevin Harvick has a combined 7 wins here. You can count the 4 in the Truck Series, 1 nationwide, and 2 Sprint Cups. So you knew your way around this old oval about as well as anybody. Now, what about today? What's the biggest difference in your approach today versus the old track?
Well, I think there's a lot of unknowns, and obviously everybody on our Budweiser Chevy, we've got some game plans for
you know, where the handling of our car goes and some emergency situations if we have to. So we'll see how it all plays out, and I think track position is going to be the biggest thing that we need.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Well, Nicole, he starts 27th, so Kevin Harvick will have his work cut out for him at least early on here with heavy traffic.
Well, you heard the phrase wild card a few times because these wild card races certainly have affected our points. Keep in mind, Kevin Harvick at Talladega, that was his game changer. Harvick finished 32nd. For two other chase contenders, it was Martinsville. Matt Kenseth finished 31st after running into the late race issues. Same can be said for Brad Keselowski. Martinsville wasn't spectacular, but neither was Texas. The last 2 weeks, he has finished 17th and 24th, respectively. But Rusty, here we are at Phoenix.
Well, everybody's been talking about it for a long time just because it's a brand new design racetrack and really nobody knows what's going to happen. This thing could be a good race for a lot of guys and it could be a real problem. I mean, I believe the problems are going to start in the back straightaway in the dog leg and end up in turn 3. And as we saw yesterday, it really affected the championship with Elliott Sadler getting knocked out of contention. It could happen today.
Yeah, it could, and I agree with you on the dog leg back there. There's going to be some real issues, and we're going to have to really see guys take their time. If they can as race car drivers, be patient like we've said 1,000 times today, but there's got to be a lot of give and take so we can get through this race, get to the end of this race, and then let these guys go.
You know, at this point in the season, the last 5 years, there's been one driver that has been talked about an awful lot, and that is Jimmie Johnson. Heading into today's race, he is 55 points out of the lead, so the chances of him winning a 6th straight championship, not very good. But it does give us an opportunity to look at the guy who over the past 5 years has been referred to as the champ, as Mr. Vanilla, and it gives us a chance to learn who is the real Jimmie Johnson.
I was kind of brought up in the environment of, you know, you work hard and then you play hard. When I go to work and do what I need to do, I'm focused, and when we have time to separate, I really need to disconnect and get away. You know, step out of the race car and get away from the work environment and just kind of, you know, be me.
It's really kind of funny to see a man flip a switch. You realize, oh my God, he has a zest for life. Like, he really wants to go.
Always in good spirits, always has a smile on his face.
Put his hat on sideways, wears his shorts weird sometimes.
He's kind of always on the edge when it comes to whatever he's doing. The normal person walks down a flight of steps. Jimmie body surfs down a set of steps.
A few key times have found my way downstairs on my stomach. There's maybe a few beers involved to help me think that it's a great idea.
You get to a point in the evening and it's, let's go do this. And you're like, maybe not. He forgets that he's 5-time champ Jimmie Johnson, and he can't do those things. We go to this golf course. There's a particular embankment that's not meant for golf carts. It's his dying wish to make it up this embankment, and he's tried it every single time, and the general manager and the caddies and everybody have told him, JJ, you can't drive up that. That's not for golf carts.
I don't know what makes me do those stupid things. There's a challenge to it. It's funny. There's got to be some level of risk, or else I just lose interest.
When I hear the fans calling him fake or vanilla, it's just like, if you guys just knew who Jimmie is.
I've heard that so many times that he's just, you know, playing. I'm just going, no, he's focused. He understands what he's there to do at the track, and that's compete and win. He's got 5 championships, okay, in a row. I would say maybe other people might want to be a little bit more vanilla then.
If I haven't had a chance to meet someone, I don't take it to heart that they might not appreciate or understand or like me as a driver. I just need to be true to myself and continue to be myself. I grew up in a very simple household. I knew how tough it was going to be to survive and make it in the sport, and I had to fully commit to it to do it. I couldn't just half-ass it. Who you see on TV, it's me.
I take more stock in the moral compass than I do the success on the track. That has a shelf life. All athletics have a shelf life. Who you are as a person will last a lot longer than the trophies and the accolades.
I know he's one of those guys that if I was in the fire, he'd be in there to grab me. And there's very few people in this world I can say that about.
We're on his motor coach an hour before he's getting ready to go 200 miles an hour, and he's worried, have you had enough to eat? You know where the beer is? You know, are you having fun?
My values have not changed through my career, and it doesn't change who I am. And I think that's one thing I'm most proud of.
And there he is, Jimmie Johnson, a 5-time Sprint Cup Series champion. Today he will start 16th. He's a 4-time winner at this track. A lot of eyes today on the two guys. wanting desperately to dethrone him as a champion. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards during pre-race ceremonies. We'll talk to both of them coming up in just a little bit. And then lessons learned in a race 1 year ago. Denny Hamlin, remember the fuel mileage issue? Will that come into play again this year? We'll talk about that coming up next.
It's time to light up the season and fire up the barbie. So sail into Outback this holiday season and enjoy one of our great steak combinations. For a limited time, try our signature sirloin with delicious wood-fired shrimp and a side for just $11.99. Or treat yourself with an 8-ounce cut of herb-crusted prime rib plus a freshly steamed lobster tail with a salad and a side. And as a gift from us, purchase $100 in gift cards, get a $20 bonus card free. It's always fresh in the Outback.
So, actually, you fit the car pretty well. I felt that he was quite cheeky, to be honest. Like, you're gonna break it. I'm telling you, I can fit. But, I don't like to judge, no matter how much of a fool he makes himself look.
Do you think he's capable of driving your car?
Well, if we can get him sitting high enough in the seat, probably have to get him a kid's seat so he can see over the steering wheel. You look ridiculous in there.
True champions trust the synthetic technology of Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR. Many drivers, one oil, Mobil 1.
Hey, everyone's eating tacos outside Bill's office. Do you think that's some information I would like to know? I like tacos. You invited Eric? I thought Eric gave you the creeps. Oh. Yeah. Hey.
Don't be left behind. Get it faster with 4G. AT&T.
People think because I spend all my weekends at the racetrack, my life is predictable. Actually, things are constantly changing. And whether I need to protect my ATV, my truck, a new home, cover my home away from home, having life insurance, or a growing business, with Nationwide Insurance, I can bundle them together and save. You can too, up to 25%. So call Nationwide Insurance today to bundle and save.
Nationwide is on your side. Call 866-500-5555.
The Rose Bowl game, presented by Vizio.
TCU is going to win one for the ages.
The Tostitos Fiesta Bowl.
Touchdown, Oklahoma!
The All-State Sugar Bowl.
It's kicked off. That'll do it.
The Discover Orange Bowl. And the All-State BCS National Championship game.
The Auburn Tigers are college football's best.
ESPN, the BCS lives here.
Welcome back to NASCAR Countdown, presented by Napa. The sun is a very good sight for us to see after some rain earlier this morning. Hey, do you remember what happened in this race one season ago? Denny Hamlin in the championship battle was doing very well, but it all came down to fuel mileage. The 11 had to make one stop more than his closest competitors, and what would have been a huge lead in the championship was cut to a number that Jimmy Johnson was later able to eliminate in the race in Homestead. And it was Johnson who went on to win the championship. One of Denny Hamlin's moments, something he still thinks about to this day. So on top of everything else, fuel mileage could once again come into play today, much to the chagrin of those guys and our Marty Smith.
We've all been there. That damn light is on again. Gauge on E. Had been for miles. In a rush, too much to do. So you roll the dice. And if you're like me, you go too far. If you're like me, you're also like Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh, he's strong, isn't he? And again, perfect. The closer wins it.
You got Clem Boyer.
Here comes Stewart. Yeah, there it is. He's out. Stewart to the lead.
Not even five-time champ Jimmy Johnson is immune.
Come running out.
It will not discriminate. This is fuel mileage at its worst, the very end. And everyone hates it. Sometimes even the winner.
Tony Stewart wins at New Hampshire.
That's not the way you want to win it, for sure.
Whatever happened to good old boys, stomping the gas pedal through the floorboard and into victory lane? When did fuel mileage finesse take over? Years ago, back when NASCAR racing was so great and the drivers were so real and the cars were so stock, fuel mileage finishes never happened, right? So how did we get here?
Start saving some fuel here.
At about a second, 3/10 behind us, Jimmy, so back our way off.
Just enough to stay in front of us. Make sure you're saving gas. We got to get it slam full.
It all started with the new generation car of tomorrow. Instantly, the old adage, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, was poof, gone. No more stashing gas in the roll cage like Smokey Unique. These days, NASCAR won't tolerate shenanigans. Cheating hits like a freight train, square in the wallet. Points don't feel very good either. And with a smaller fuel cell, suddenly you have a pit window determined more by fuel consumption than by tire wear, which means crew chiefs start begging drivers as early as halfway to start saving fuel, just in case.
Just stay in front of him. Stay in conserve mode here. Start saving me some fuel here. I thought we were plenty good. Sure, but I asked you to save me fuel. Just save me some fuel, please.
And guess what? Surprise! Drivers hate it. Who wants to clutch, feather, and coast when you can floor it, bust gauges, and drop the hammer? Didn't we come here to go fast? And those poor crew chiefs. It truly is a guessing game that the men on the box must play. Scratching their heads, checking their calculators, wondering how much fuel did we get in the tank? How much was already in there? How much is the driver saving? And can anyone else make it to the end?
How short are we? If it's full, done. But I just can't take that chance.
Ever played guess how many M&Ms are in the jar?
Back it up. Back it up. Are we short?
Anxious drivers chirping every lap. We good?
We're good, right? I think so, Kevin. We're right on the number. Let's be sure of it.
And when it gets to the end, sure does make for some funky-looking finishes. Chicago ring a bell? Love it or hate it, the fuel mileage game is here to stay. So when you're out there with less than a quarter tank, save, save, save. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Oh, you know Marty Smith loved that.
I love that. It was great.
Bob Osborne, crew
Good
chief
job,
for
Marty.
Carl Edwards. Darian Grubb, the crew chief for Tony Stewart. The one who is leading, the other one who is doing the chasing, as if they needed any more pressure. Fuel mileage, do you see that coming into play today?
Oh, man, number one, I hate fuel mileage.
I
You guys know that.
know.
I can't stand these fuel mileage races. I'll probably be wrong, but I don't think it's going to happen today. I think the new track design is going to cause enough havoc out there, spins and crashes and wrecks, whatever. I don't think fuel mileage is going to come in.
Yeah, I agree with Rusty. Yesterday we saw a lot of guys melting the beads on those right front tires and having tire problems. You could see a little bit of that today. And if those types of things happen, along with the incidents that are going to happen, it'll chop that fuel mileage up. We won't have to worry about it.
Before we go to break, a quick reminder for you race fans, check out NASCAR.com/racebuddy to watch coverage live from Phoenix. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. And when we come back, guess who we're going to talk to? The two gentlemen going for the championship. It is Tony Stewart, who trails Carl Edwards 2 races to go by just 3 points. How are they feeling? We'll find out next.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Countdown is presented by Napa. Napa Know-How.
Turning into a beautiful day for chase race number 9 here at Phoenix International Raceway. A lot of pre-race activity going on, and just a few seconds ago, our Jamie Little tracked down Kyle Busch.
Well, it has been a long week for Kyle Busch. And Kyle, with everything that you've been through in the last week, you're back in your race car. I can imagine how good that feels. Where is your head today as you begin this race?
It's right where it needs to be. You know, as soon as you strap that helmet on, you get back into the feel about getting into the race car, getting into the race, and working with your guys, and you know, coming up with some good adjustments throughout the race. You know, this is going to be a treacherous race here, especially to start. I think we saw some of that yesterday, as well as throughout the race. Just knowing what kind of adjustments and changes you're going to want, and how hot it's going to be. The sun coming out, making a slick surface too.
You know, obviously, with probation, people want to know, does it change the way that you race at all?
Well, I mean, certainly, I guess you've got to define it a little bit more. As a driver, you know how hard you're going to push it or you're not going to push it. So, granted, you know, you've got 2 weeks that, you know, you still want to try to win, of course, but if it comes down to it, you know, you just survive through the rest of the year and start over.
Get in your car, first lap out in practice, blown motor, as if you didn't have enough on your plate. Now you're starting in the back. Is there any chance you can pass on the track that you've seen and get to the front?
I'm not sure. You know, I didn't get a chance to see yesterday's race, so you know, see how it all plays out. But you know, we'd like to think we can pass out there. You know, I seem to think a couple guys got it to widen out, and you could at least race side by side. But it's still going to be really, really tough. I mean, we saw this kind of racing at Loudon earlier this year. The flat mile racetracks just seem to make it tough on you when there's only one lane. So if there becomes 2 lanes, you know, you try to make the best of it.
All right, Kyle Busch back in the car with Interstate Batteries this weekend and next. He'll start 42nd.
And Kyle is 11th in points after last week and being sat down in Texas. He's one of 3 drivers mathematically eliminated from the championship. One of the very cool sights to see before the race. Just had Veterans Day a few days ago. The championship, back to that. 2 drivers separated by just 3 points and just 2 races to determine which one will hoist that trophy at the end of the day in Miami. So how are they feeling heading into chase race number 9? Our Dave Burns is with Tony Stewart.
I am Nicole, and it's been an interesting weekend so far at PIR, the new PIR. We've had good qualifying. You out-qualified Carl a little bit by a fraction of a second. Good car on Friday practice, as far as I could tell. And then yesterday, Nationwide guys running through the dog leg and cutting things off. I mean, are you comfortable with racing on the new PIR?
Well, we don't have a choice. They're not going to say no, and we're going to go move it somewhere else today. But yeah, I am. It's, you know, it's different, but there's things about it that are the same. So, you know, there's one thing when you get on the outside of the fence and look at the grandstands and see all the people that are here tonight. They got an awesome crowd here, so I'm really excited about it. It's a good place to come for the second to last race.
Tony Stewart starts 8th, and hopefully he'll be as in control as he's been the last couple of weeks. Vince?
Standing with Carl Edwards comes into this championship race with a 3-point advantage, and like very few people in this race, you actually have driven this track in race conditions. What did you learn from yesterday's Nationwide race that will help you today?
Well, I learned a lot, and you know, this is going to be a tough race. The restarts are going to be really important. You know, having a car that you can change the handling on to adapt throughout the day with the sun being out and the difference in shading that's going to happen throughout the race, all that stuff's going to be important. But for us, I mean, we've got a fast Aflac Ford here. We're just going to go out here, race hard, have some fun, and try to build this lead a little bit. You know, we'd like to go into Homestead with a much bigger lead than we've got right now.
It's very tight, just a 3-point advantage for Carl Edwards. Nicole?
How about a little Napa know-how for today's race? Don't let the dog leg bite you. It's going to take some give and take on that one.
Oh, a lot of give and take through the dog leg. Much like that old racetrack in Darlington. You got to be careful of that place.
Yeah, you do, Brett. Going down that turn 1, only 1 car fits at Darlington, just like you.
Patience, not just from the
Gotta
drivers
be
either.
patient. Give your fellow driver a little bit of love today. Give him a little room. Let that patience wear out until you get to the
end. And you got to respect the restarts. I mean, these restarts can be big problems. Be real careful in these restarts. So they can bite you big time and put you out of the race.
2 races to go, 3 points between the top 2 drivers, and 1 giant unknown in this particular racetrack. Tony or Kyle? Carl, you got to pick one.
Oh, man, I like them both. I really do. But the 14 car, Tony Stewart's got so much momentum right now. He's running like a steaming locomotive, man. It's hard to slow this guy down. Stewart's probably going to outrun the 99 today.
Man, it's too close to call, but I'm going to go with the 99 just simply because he's been on top. He's yet to yield that points lead. I don't think he does today as well.
Just a few seconds left. Who else are you looking at?
I'm looking at Jamie McMurray. This guy's had a tough year. It's time to turn it around. I think Jamie McMurray, qualifying the 6th position, is going to have a great day.
Jeff Burton, he qualified 14th. He's got a couple of wins here. I'm looking for Jeff Burton.
We'll tell you this, 312 laps will certainly be interesting, and that's exactly what we're going to do when we come back to Phoenix. Phoenix International Raceway, one of 2 remaining tests in this 2011 Sprint Cup Series Championship. 1 trophy, 2 drivers, and just 3 points between them. Carl Edwards is the points leader, Mr. Consistency, with just 1 finish outside the top 10 in this chase. And Tony Stewart, already a 2-time champion, who's having the best postseason of his career. 4 wins in the last 8 races, and today 1 big unknown.
Man and machine. Today more than ever, it's a struggle for control. Machine supplies the firepower, but man provides the passion.
We're not giving up.
The drive.
Nice and smooth, bud. You'll run him right down.
Sure, you need a fast car, but come on, that's a cliche. You can't just put this baby on cruise control. You need a captain who can adapt to adversity, who can overcome the flaws in the machine.
Getting closer on the balance there. Still need a little more. may not be perfect, but we're not going to give up on this thing.
Because with only 2 races left in the tightest chase in history, Edwards and Stewart are searching for control.
Just keep doing what we're doing. There's a reason we're in this spot. We're the points leaders. They still got to come get us.
But the truth is, racing like life is a variable event. Control,
You're better than he is. This is our time.
that's an illusion. All that is certain are 2 men, 2 machines, and the Sprint Cup.
We've earned it. We're going to stay up here.
It is time to push the limits of both man and machine.
Just you and that 14 right now, hammer down.
Because every lap,
I see him coming.
every lead change, every pit stop could make the difference in an all-out chase to make the imperfect perfect.
And there are the men and their machines. A lot of eyes on the 2 fighting for this championship, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards. They are ready for this championship, and so are we. It's also time to go trackside for this Kobalt Tools 500 at Phoenix.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Luke Air Force Base Honor Guard presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Phoenix International Raceway Chaplain Ken Bowers offers today's invocation.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to join you here at our beloved PIR. Others may have an opinion of who we are. We may think very highly of ourselves, but the important thing is that you know who we are and you know us. Help us to please you with our living. And now may we have a safe race today. Thank you for this beautiful, perfect Arizona weather. And everyone said, Amen.
They have performed over 150 shows in Iraq in support of our troops. Here to sing our national anthem, please welcome Armed Forces Entertainers of the Year, Catchpenny.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Chase drivers start in the top 10, including our pole sitter, Matt Kenseth. Will this particular race be his chance to get back in the title hunt? 312 miles from Phoenix, coming up next.
Kobalt Tools 500 at Phoenix is brought to you by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. Ford, drive one. And Sprint, proud sponsor of the Chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Phoenix International Raceway, home of Chase Race number 9. Join Goodyear and NASCAR in saluting America's armed forces and give back by helping support our troops. Visit Goodyear.com/support our troops to learn more. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. And race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch live coverage from Phoenix. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live cam reviews, and it will certainly be a fun one to watch. A new configuration to this racetrack, a new surface, and Alan Bestwick, a whole lot of unknowns.
Yeah, an awful lot for us to talk about, Nicole. Thank you. There has been so much discussion and so much speculation leading up to this race about how the new pavement, a new configuration of this Phoenix track would play out, with former champions Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie What are we going to see today?
We're going to see a lot better racing, I think, than what people anticipated before they came out here. They were thinking one groove racetrack. We saw this track widen out to 2 grooves, but still very, very treacherous, especially if you get outside of that 2 groove area. But we saw cars be able to make a pass on the outside, but it's extremely fast around here. A lot of braking. We actually saw them using some areas that I don't think they anticipated using. So we're going to be able to see some really good racing, but you have to be careful, especially on these restarts.
And it looked like there was a lot of strategy available to the teams. We saw 2 tire stops by Ricky Stenhouse early with 2 left side tires. Later on, we saw it with Sam Hornish getting right side tires and running the fastest laps of the race on those tires. So I think it's going to be open for a lot of strategy.
Probably see a little crashing too.
I would imagine it's going to be tough. Yeah, hard racing all day. We'll see some of this. This was early on in the nationwide race yesterday.
Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart, 1 and 2 in the championship. They start 1 position apart on the racetrack. In yesterday's NASCAR Nationwide Series race, we saw one of the title contenders in that series, Elliott Sadler, swept up in a wreck, and his title chances given a severe hurting. That Sadler in the 2, cutting off that dog leg and then getting collected from behind by Jason Leffler in the 38. Having witnessed this yesterday, will it have an effect on how Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart race today?
Oh, yeah. And actually, both of them have said that. So they're very conscious of these type situations. I think these are the things that they look at the most. This and restarts, not putting themselves in that position, will be very beneficial to them today.
Yeah, we heard Tony Stewart earlier say that he had some chips he was going to cash in, and those chips are probably favors that he's built up over the years that he hopes people will pay him back and give him a break.
So we'll see how the new layout at Phoenix and the new configuration provides racing for us throughout the day. We'll see how the championship is impacted by this race, and we'll see how the action on the track gets rugged, maybe as the desert environment around it, you think? See if someone gets snake bit? Weather's cooperated too. Great crowd on hand. All we need now is to get the engine started and get the race underway.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, driver the number 007 Lowe's Aston Martin, Adrian Fernandez.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Most beautiful setting in the sport on a beautiful day in Arizona, and we're set to go with the second to last race of the chase for the Sprint Cup. Tony Stewart is our in-race reporter for the day. Remember his win a couple of weeks ago at Martinsville, when afterwards Stewart said he was going to be coming after Carl Edwards for this championship over the final 3 races.
He better be worried, that's all I got to say. He isn't going to have an easy 3 weeks.
Stewart backed up those words last Sunday at Texas, winning the race with Edwards right behind him. We talk with Tony on the parade and pace laps as we get set to go racing in Phoenix.
This year.
Pace car beginning to ease off pit road and lead the field of 43 onto the racetrack for today's Kobalt Tools 500. Race 9 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Look at the starting lineup coming across the top of the screen. Field headed by Matt Kenseth. Most poles in one season for the former champ. 3rd of the year. Kenseth to bring this field to the green flag in just 3 more laps. When we get back to the 4th row in the 8th starting position, you will see our in-race reporter today and the subject of our Gillette Pro Glide profile. That's Tony Stewart. Tony with the wins at Martinsville and Texas, back-to-back wins. The 9th time in his career he's taken back-to-back races. He's never done the three-peat. Skeptic or believer about a three-peat today?
I'm a believer. With 9 times he's done it, he's due to finally put it together for 3 in a row.
And certainly looked pretty sporty in practice in that 14 car. Our in-race reporter is Tony Stewart. Time to hook up.
Hey, Tony, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Hi, ma'am.
Hey, buddy, thanks for talking with us today. Our first question comes from our mailbag, and Joseph in New York asks, after watching yesterday's race, does the dogleg dive bomb cause you any increased worries along with the new track surface?
No, not really. It's, there's a reason these guys made it to the Cup Series, and doesn't mean we don't make mistakes up here, but there's some guys that forced themselves into mistakes yesterday, and I don't think you'll see that quite as much today, but you'll definitely see guys taking advantage of the dog leg for sure. You'll see them cut in the corner, but everybody be paying attention.
Hey, Smoke, in my endless hours of preparation for this week, I came up with a stat here. Actually, it wasn't me. It was someone did this for me. But twice, someone's won 3 straight races since you started in 1999. His name's Jimmy Johnson, and he did it in the Chase. Can you do that here today?
Oh, I think so. I mean, we've been really good on Friday, both sessions, and we were good at both tests here. So I'm looking forward to it. Confident we're gonna have a good day.
All right, you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later on. Appreciate you talking with us. Now, Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Darian Grubb.
All right, bud.
Darian Grubb, Andy Petrie in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, Darian, one question here, or actually two. Did you watch the nationwide race yesterday, and what did you learn from that you can use today to get to victory lane?
Yeah, we did watch it. We saw quite a few changes there as the track changed and rubbered up, and a lot of different strategy calls and stuff of what won the race there. So it's definitely going to change today, and track position is going to be a pretty key.
Okay, well, keep him out of trouble and make some good calls up there. Thanks for talking to us, Darian.
Thanks a lot. All right, 1 to go.
1 to go before the start. Got 8 high-definition onboard cameras for you to enjoy the race through today. Top 7 in points are carrying cameras. The pole sitters carrying a camera. Drivers accounting for 13 Phoenix wins are carrying cameras. And, of course, the top 2 in the championship, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards, carrying onboard looks for us today here in the Valley of the Sun. And our over-the-wall reporter is the rear tire carrier for the 7 car. It is Chris Brook from Davie, Florida. Chris, have a great day. We'll be watching. And the tools for today brought to you by Kobalt Tools. How much grip is in that outside lane is one thing you got to watch out for.
Yeah, and that's going to be very stressful on these race drivers today, especially these guys battling for the championship. Got to keep it in the groove.
Yeah, but they don't pay points, so this race is over. So durability is going to be key.
The traditional distance at Phoenix, 500 kilometers, 312 laps on this mile track. A different mile track, though, than they've raced on since the Sprint Cup Series first came here in 1988. How will the new configuration, how will this race play into deciding this oh-so-close championship? We are underway with the second-to-last race of the season, green flag at Phoenix. Jamie McMurray, little slip up into that third lane in 1 and 2 on the opening start. Has recovered reasonably well.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to face on the outside lane as we have these restarts throughout the day. You can see how far Jamie McMurray is falling back.
Edwards and Stewart falling in line, nose to tail, 6th and 7th spots.
Now, Allmendinger started off on the outside of the front rows, back to 5th.
There's for second place. Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 is through the runner-up spot behind leader Matt Kenseth.
We're seeing a lot more give and take.
Trouble.
Well, didn't get it out of my mouth.
Corner. David Reagan in the 6, Regan Smith in the 78.
I was going to say we were seeing more give and take because the track is green. It looks like that pace was ran out.
Fairly hard.
That's a shame for both of them.
I think that when I went around this track for the first time Thursday, that going into turn 3 grabbed my attention as much as anything, just because it's downhill into the corner, very fast part of the track. Easy to get loose, especially beside a car. Almost took Casey Kane out. Kind of synchronized spinning right there.
Yeah, that's very well synchronized. There's almost really 2 incidents. You see David Reagan getting loose, then Regan Smith getting loose, trying to stay off of him.
Reagan was trying to get 9th spot away from Casey Kane. Instead, Reagan and Regan wind up in the turn 3 wall, and the first caution is out today here at Phoenix. Wrapping up an early caution in the Kobalt Tools 500. Time for a green flag restart presented by American Ethanol. Stewart, and Edwards. Carl restarted on the outside lane, so Tony's going to keep him out there and get in front of him.
Yeah, we might be saying that a lot in the next 2 weeks. Nose to tail, side by side. Smoke's not finished past him yet, though.
That's A.J. Allmendinger. He's gone by.
Yeah, I don't think Mark Truex is either. He's working on Matt Kenseth for the lead.
Trouble. Car in trouble off of turn number 4. 36 car. Caution is out. Jeff Bodine has gone around. And quickly, we're back under the yellow flag again.
All good. Cars have been out of control all weekend, man. He just lost it underneath you.
All right, let's see what happened. Bodine was 33rd on the restart.
Just lost it where the track flattens out here. Probably not a lot of grip up there in that higher side coming off of 4 right now.
Got lucky, though. Didn't hit anything.
Or anybody.
Speaking of lucky, David Reagan lost a lap in getting repairs made after being involved in the first caution, but he's the first car lap down at this yellow and gets the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. So David Reagan is back on the lead lap in 42nd position. Regan Smith went to the garage after his wall contact earlier.
If you not official.
Look at that site. Sold out grandstands. Beautiful day weather-wise. Kobalt Tools 500 in Phoenix, though with a halting start, a couple of quick cautions in the opening 6 laps. We're wrapping up the second of them now. Jeff Bodine has stayed on the lead lap. He's gone back to 40th position. Matt Kenseth, Martin Truex Jr. lead the field for the restart. Kenseth inside in the purple 17. Carl Edwards, 99. A.J. Allmendinger, 43. Side by side, 6th and 7th spots.
Allmendinger hanging in tough out there on the outside.
Tony Stewart up another spot. Goes by David Ruderman.
Tony Stewart's team worked really hard in race trim all during practice, and I think it's really paying off for him right now.
Edwards trying to keep Allmendinger pinned up in that outside lane. Kurt Busch, 22. Paul Menard, 27. Kind of stacked up behind this side-by-side race. Busy hands inside that 99.
There goes Tony for second.
As Tony Stewart. Yep, moving forward. 00 Ruderman going to get by Marcus Ambrose as well. You'll see that throughout the day, where Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards run on the track as the race goes on, just to show you how close the championship really is.
And the way this is going to play out today, it's going to be ever-changing. As you slip a little bit, try to make a pass, get caught on the high side for just a minute, you might lose a spot or two.
Yeah, your Carl Edwards, you see Tony Stewart making these passes. It kind of
Kurt Busch. Yikes. Paul Menard there in that 27. Think there might have been a little contact. If not, it was close enough.
Yeah, it looked like maybe there's some speedy dry up there, and it looked like maybe Kurt Busch just got into that and tried to really hammer the gas and trying to make that pass on the outside.
Save of the day so far.
Yeah, you can see that car just pushing a little bit there, and he tries to make enough turn to the wheel. Just broke the back end loose. Jamie, what is he saying about this car now?
Well, he just stepped out of the groove, and you're exactly right, DJ. Kurt came on the radio and said, all this kitty litter up here, he just got a little bit loose, but he was calm, and the car seems to be okay.
All right, so Kurt has settled in line there in 9th position, Jamie, in that 22. Jimmy Johnson, 48 car, started 16th. He's up to 12th. Racing there with Brian Vickers in the 83. Man, talk about moving up early. Tony Stewart to second. Andy, you were a believer. He could make it 3 in a row.
I'll tell you, just watch how hard these guys worked in practice and how focused they were on getting this car right. And watch his lap times in practice. They were really, really consistent.
Dave Burns has Tony Stewart's pit today.
Alan, how do you think he looks so far?
Pretty good, huh?
Okay, here's what he thinks.
Feels really good so far, bud. 10-4, buddy. Fastest car out there, but 2 tenths right now.
Crew Chief Darian Grubb told me this morning that from the time the car came off the truck for practice on Friday through the 2 qualifying laps, they have been right there, feeling very confident about this 14.
Yeah, they were doing things like, moving trailing arms in the practice session. They were doing all kinds of things to get this car just exactly like he wanted it. Looks like he's there.
Yeah, and I don't know that I've seen a driver any more focused than Tony Stewart in getting his team to go fast everywhere they've been. If you don't think that winning and momentum is a big factor, that's what is driving this team and this driver right now.
So Stewart has moved up to 2nd spot after starting back in 8th. You see we've gone single file now through most of the field. Jamie McMurray in that 1 car. Remember on the very first lap we saw him get up into that 3rd lane in turns 1 and 2. He was running 6th at the time. Now the 1 car is 23rd. Dave, that's not the way they wanted to start out.
Not at all, and Jamie radioed his crew and said it seems like the air pressures are too low. DJ, maybe you can talk about what the feeling is like when you just feel like that they haven't come up to their proper pressures yet.
Yeah, especially whenever, Dave, you have a hard tire like Goodyear has brought here to go along with this new racing surface. You get those too low, then it'll get like the car is actually rolling over. And until those pressures get built up, you don't get a good feel that you've got a lot of grip with that tire. This tire has maximum grip when those air pressures are built up, so it can be a very difficult time, especially on these restarts. You see Robbie Gordon jump back in front of Montoya. See how that works out.
After Joey Logano made that little contact there, yeah, don't want that.
Got to give your teammate room.
Don't have to.
Well, you need to.
After Joey Logano made the cut across the tri-oval and did the slide job up in front of Robbie Gordon, then you had that jam up in traffic that almost got those 2 teammates collected with each other. Discussion before the race. Some were speculating whether NASCAR would make a yellow line out of bounds rule like they have at Daytona and Talladega. NASCAR said no, they were not going to do that. But in the drivers' meeting, race director David Hoots said to drivers, as explaining that they weren't going to make a rule about it, said, as most of you saw in yesterday's Nationwide Series race, it wasn't always a successful thing when you went down there, paraphrasing here, and asked them to maybe think twice about it.
Yeah, there's no rule. They strongly suggested that they try to stay up on the racing surface.
A couple of more teammates racing here. 43 Allmendinger, 9 Ambrose. That's 5th place.
Yeah, it looks like maybe it's taking A.J. Allmendinger's car a little bit of time, too, just like they were talking about McMurray, for the air pressures to come up. He started on the outside of the front row, got shuffled back early. Looks like he's marching back forward now.
Allmendinger moving forward a little bit, and Ambrose moving backwards. Kyle Busch moving forward. Started at the back of the field. He's up to 27th spot right now. And we were talking about that dogleg dive bomb that some people have nicknamed it after yesterday's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Kyle Busch has been using that extra pavement as well.
I don't think there's extra speed, as you can see him get loose right there, but it is a shorter way, and you can. It's just a matter of how courteous others are going to be to you as you get down into turn 3 then. Jamie, how about this 18 right now?
And Kyle hadn't tried that line in practice, so he is searching. Car is not where it wants to be.
Is it a bad sign when the car feels like it wants to spin out every time through the tri-oval?
Yeah, I can see how that's uncomforting. That'll definitely get better throughout the race, so.
And they anticipate the car just tightening up as this race goes on. They got him a little too loose right now, but Kyle Busch back in his comfort zone, back in his race car after being parked last weekend. Alan?
And Jamie now up to 26th after the pass on Ryan Newman in that 39 car. Matt Kenseth has led every lap so far, but Tony Stewart has moved steadily up into 2nd place behind him early in the going in the Kobalt Tools 500. The race for the lead in the very early going of today's second to last race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season. Phoenix International Raceway, Matt Kenseth, 17. Started on pole, has led every lap so far. Tony Stewart in the 14. Second in the championship, just barely second coming in. Started the race back in 8th position. He's moved up to 2nd, while Carl Edwards runs back in 7th spot for the moment. There is 3rd, Martin Truex. 4th, A.J. Allmendinger. 5th, 6th, 7th. Back to Carl Edwards in the 99 car. We heard about Tony Stewart's early race report. Vince Welch, what about Edwards?
Well, Carl has picked up a couple of positions, but the car a little finicky right now.
It is the tight all the way around 3 and 4. Pounds 1 and 2. It's a little tossy, little rear end tossed into 1. Okay, a little tighter on the center 1 and 2, but the most times is 3 and 4. 10, 4. We'll look at that track bar, bud.
So there you hear the conditions of the car that Carl is dealing with. Spotter Jason Hedleski has also reminded him on multiple occasions when he's gotten into a tight jam, be careful.
Edwards started with Tony Stewart right there with him. Now Stewart is driven away from him.
Yeah, I was going to ask Dale, you see that happening.
Oh, wait a minute. Stewart might be the new leader here.
Talk about being aggressive.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Come up on the lap car, Jeff Bodine, and they're going to split him.
That was a
Stewart's going to come out with the lead.
Wow. That was a 3-wide pass on the outside.
One more lap.
And Edwards' spotter's telling him to be careful. I wonder what Tony's spotter's saying.
Yeah, Bob Jeffrey.
I think Bob Jeffrey said clear. That's what he said, yeah.
Had some traffic for Carl Edwards. Right side of the screen. He's racing with Marcos Ambrose for 6th position. That's Mike Bliss in the 32 car they're trying to get around. Matt Kenseth may not be done with Stewart for the lead, too.
No, I don't think that he kind of... I think he liked the way that was done. Not that he did anything bad, not that Tony did anything wrong, but I think Matt was thinking, okay, we'll just be careful running through here. But Tony has been faster, running him down little by little.
You know, Tony's just had this different mindset in the chase. He's just going to go out there and be aggressive on restarts. And in that situation there, I did not expect him to be that aggressive.
Man, you see right there where Tony Stewart's making his time. He got back in the throttle and drove the car off the corner, just drove away from Matt Kenseth.
And as the leaders get in traffic and work some of that to get through, you see 56-43, Truex Jr. and Allmendinger have closed in 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, a lot of it's going to have to do today, you're making time, is where you catch traffic. You see Kenseth getting a little bit loose right now. He's really fighting his race car.
We're getting ready to have a competition caution. It's going to be interesting to see what all these guys do as far as strategy and how many 2-tire versus 4-tire stops we see. Lap times are holding up well, and we saw yesterday in the nationwide race that 2 tires were just as fast as 4.
So Matt Kenseth back to 2nd after a bold move by Tony Stewart. Just want to pay off the conversation we were just starting to get into about Edwards watching Stewart drive away from him.
You have to really be patient as the competition is out now. But when you see that happening, you have to be patient. And Carl did this last week. He was able to be patient through about 3/4 of the race in Texas. Then he was able to insert himself and eventually finish right behind Tony. But it is very difficult. You have to be very patient and understanding of the situation to go through all of that. I think Carl Edwards is in that place, though.
So Stewart leading the race 37 laps in after a bold 3-wide move around Matt Kenseth and a lap car.
I think that still has to put a ton of pressure on Carl Edwards to look at that board and see that 14 car up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the pit crews getting ready to go for the first time. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award is determined by the winner of each race, the fastest pit time, and you, the fans, vote. Text the car number to 234567 for your pit crew choice. Might it be Carl Edwards' team or Tony Stewart's team?
Yeah, that team's got to be feeling some pressure, too, to make a good pit stop here and try to make up some spots for Carl.
So what are we going to see? Got 33 cars on the lead lap. How many 2-tire changes? How many 4? They're about a little more than halfway through a fuel run. We'll watch carefully. Dr. Jerry Punch.
Strategy taking place on stop number 1. Left side tires only to call for the 43 car. We're seeing grading on left side. They'll top it off with snow fuel. No adjustments whatsoever. Left sides only. Jamie.
And Martin Truex Jr. says he's loose getting into 1. That is the main issue. Left side tires, 1 can of fuel, Dave.
Leader upper right, left side tires only. He was told not to slide him into the box. Just a slight air pressure adjustment to help him turn. Vince.
Carl Edwards, bottom of your screen, right-hand side. They're going to make a track bar adjustment to help him in 1 and 2. A 2-tire change for the 99 in a race off pit road. Looks like it might be Tony Stewart.
Longhorn Steakhouse race off the pit lane. Winning the pole, having that first pit position selection. Big deal for Matt Kenseth right there.
Paid off right there, coming off pit road. You can see just barely beats Tony Stewart off.
So Kenseth going to get the lead back from his pit crew after losing it here to Tony Stewart. 3 wide around the lap car to get to the point. Under caution for the 3rd time. Green flag back in the air at Phoenix. Matt Kenseth 17, Tony Stewart 14 for the lead. Carl Edwards up 4 spots on the pit stops. He's going to race Stewart now for 2nd. Or Truex for 3rd.
I mean, watch that run. Kenseth for the lead. Tony got a huge run off turn 2.
He's just getting in the gas so hard. Just able to drive by him on the exit of the corner. And sliding it off the corner.
Oh, hang on there, Brad Keselowski. In the blue deuce. Nice save there. And Dale, that's something Kurt Busch bobbling around off the corner there. Something we're going to see right after pit stops. These teams expecting their car, the balance to change over the course of a run too tight or the front end not turning, are starting it with the grip so that the back end is really sliding around and the conditions can kind of come to the car over the course of a run.
Yeah, the most stressful time for the driver, these restarts being double fouled, your car is extremely loose because you don't want it to go so tight that you have to use a lot of brake and possibly blow out the right front tire. So it's a handful for the drivers at the beginning of one of these runs.
It's just something they have to deal with. And then, you know, if you want to, you spend so much more time with the tires hot and built up that you have, you know, if you can get through that first few laps, it's going to be better over the long run. But sometimes you give them solutions you can't even get through the first part.
While Kenseth tries to pressure Stewart for the lead, here's Kurt Busch trying to regroup, working on Brian Vickers for a spot. That's 8th and 9th.
You can see already this racetrack has rubbered back in nicely after the rains overnight here and early this morning, so they can race side by side.
Jeff Gordon. Sorry, Dale, go ahead.
Just trying to make his way forward here. He struggled a little bit in practice on Friday, but yeah, he was the one that started this whole thing, showed him digging up the front straightaway, so it's his fault that they had to redo this whole thing.
Jeff started back in 23rd. He is trying to take 13th away from Joey Logano there. Carl Edwards going for 2nd on Matt Kenseth.
Well, that second groove looks like it's working pretty good.
Yeah, you just have to be careful and make sure that you don't get, especially that right front tire, outside of that groove area. Because if you do, then you lose that. You're going to lose a lot of time. And you said earlier, Andy, that you almost have to stop when you get to that point.
And there's something we just saw Kenseth do. Interesting, because a driver has to make a split-second decision behind the wheel. How much do I stay on that outside and fight for that spot, or do I cut my loss and try and cut off and get back to that inside lane and keep the guy behind me from forcing me to the outside?
And way too early to be doing that. So as an experienced driver like Matt Kenseth, he decided to drop back, and that being a teammate that's racing for the championship also. Not that Matt's not still racing for the championship.
Martin Truex Jr. was the guy pressing Kenseth a second ago. Now he's getting shuffled back.
Yeah, he made a big slip getting down into this part of the racetrack last time. He got his left sides off on the apron just as he did there, but it shot him up the racetrack and lost a couple of spots.
Back to 6th for Truex. Marcus Ambrose slid back a little in the opening run. Now trying to regroup, Dave.
With a 2 right side tire change, crew chief Todd Parrott telling me this morning that track position, like everybody else, going to have to be really conscious about that. He said, I may take 2 tires all day long, but of course he doesn't think the left sides will last quite that long. But a great run so far for Marcus after a great qualifying effort.
Andy, we saw Tony Stewart change left sides, Carl Edwards get right side. A crew chief thinking as to which one he wants to do?
Well, I'm watching really close right now to see how they perform. It looks like it's working well for Carl Edwards. I don't think his car was quite as good in that first run as it is right now, and he's the one that took right side.
Check out our Lowe's Never Stop Improving rundown of who has moved up the most in the race so far. How about Kyle Busch? Up 26 positions, and we're not even a quarter of the distance into the race.
And this team was behind the 8 ball quite a bit. They had an engine problem early on, lost a whole first practice session basically the other day.
Well, last Sunday at Texas, Tony Stewart won the race. His rival for the Sprint Cup Championship, Carl Edwards, finished second. Early in the going today at Phoenix, Stewart leads. Edwards has moved up to second. Race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch camera coverage live from Phoenix. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. This camera view shows you the race for the lead. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, top 2 in the championship, running 1 and 2 as we are 61 laps into the books and working the 62nd early in the race at Phoenix. Let's go up to speed, update you on all the front runners, all the strategy we saw on that first round of pit stops. We start with Dave Burns in the leader's pit.
Tony Stewart's quiet on the radio when he is concentrating in traffic. When he's out front, even quieter. No record since the last pit stop. Remember, Tony won here in 1999. It was his first Phoenix Sprint Cup race. The only other guy to do that, Alan Kowicki. Remember, Alan Kowicki is the last owner-driver to win the championship. Tony trying to be the next one.
Behind him is the 43 car, A.J. Allmendinger, just going by the 99 of Carl Edwards to take the second spot. You know, his crew chief, Greg Irwin, told me when they were here for the open test about a month or so ago, they ran 35 consecutive laps, then came in and put on left side tires only and went back out and were even faster. That's exactly what's happened right now. Left sides only, and now A.J. Allmendinger, one of the fastest cars on the track. Vince.
Well, in that third place car, Carl Edwards, a little too tight in the center. Carl and crew chief Bob Osborne talked about a track bar adjustment on that first pit stop, decided against it at the last moment, and just went with air pressure in the right front. And Carl says, maybe they needed that track bar adjustment after all, especially if they go for a long run. A little too snug right now for the 99. Now, the 17 of Matt Kenseth is currently running fourth. Remember, Kenseth started on the pole, but since that first pit stop, he's got a bit of a vibration.
Sorry, Jimmy, it's just shaking so bad I can hardly see. I don't think we're going to make it a whole run here.
Said he's going to have to wait a while and see what happens, but you can tell Kenseth not pleased with what he's got right now. Dave Burns?
Fifth place, Marcus Ambrose. They made an air pressure adjustment for a car that was loose in and tight off. Remember, Marcus went to Richard Petty Motorsports this year, uncertain of a major sponsor, saying, I felt like I needed to shake things up. I wanted to know where I stood with a new group. Well, with the win at Watkins Glen this year, he at least had a shot at the chase, and now trying to make some noise before the end of the season. Jamie?
Martin Truex Jr. making a little noise of himself so far this weekend. Started fifth. Now this is the second week in a row he's been working with interim crew chief Scott Miller, who was hired just recently by Michael Waltrip Racing as the executive VP of competition. He said the biggest challenge of being back on top of the box is getting up to speed. So far, that's what they've had this weekend. Right behind him, and David Rudiman, his teammates, started the day 7th. They had an issue early, just bouncing a lot. Seemed to help it after the last stop. They made a track bar adjustment, air pressure, and took 4 tires, and the car is getting better. Behind him, Kurt Busch started 17th. Practice did not go well for this team. Said that the Dodges just felt like they were missing something. They weren't cutting the corners like they wanted them to. They worked on the car on the last stop, took right sides only, got a little track position, and he's moving forward. Dave?
So is Jamie McMurray, Jamie. After that last restart, he was 14th. He's now up to the 9th position. They made a 2-tire stop on that last run. Crew chief Bono Mania telling him, if we get you out front, they're not going to be able to stop you. McMurray now going for a position on the inside. Behind him is the 2-car of Brad Keselowski right there, using the outside of the yellow line. Yesterday, he finished second in the nationwide race, cutting off the dog leg frequently. And he said it was a hard hit every time he did that. Said it felt like I was giving myself a concussion. And yet it was the way to go yesterday. We'll see if Brad utilizes that line later today. Alan?
Dave, thanks. So there's an update on your top 10. as we close in already on the 1/4 mark of today's Kobalt Tools 500 at Phoenix International Raceway, the second to last race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Championship contenders running first and third.
Chase race number 9 for Phoenix International Raceway, and on this newly reconfigured track, some challenges very early on, and a challenge from the Chase contenders. Do you think that 99 crew of Carl Edwards is under a little bit of pressure? Tony Stewart, 3-wide pass on lap 36 for the lead, and right now, Tony Stewart is out front by nearly a second. Carl Edwards, though, not far behind. He runs in third. And if you're curious about just how much that would shake up the points as they run coming into the day, Tony Stewart had a 3-point deficit in the championship. Right now, it is 99, 4 points behind the 14 car. Like we said, as they run, all that can change a lot, obviously, in these next 235 laps. Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. NASCAR fans voted at sprint.com/speed on the driver they wanted us to go in car with, and Tony Stewart was the top choice. So let's go on board now via the Evo Cam and listen in.
It feels really nice right now.
Careful, everybody. The car behind you there is on the exact same strategy deal there. He's about 2/10 quicker, but you're doing awesome there.
Get closer to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with unlimited access to highlights, news, and more. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Tony Stewart has won 4 races in this chase, and right now he's out front again.
He is out front, but I will tell you one thing. He is laying the numbers on the board. He's looking like he's run this place a bunch, but this is the first time on this new track for everybody. And I will promise you one thing, Nicole. All these drivers' brains are like sponges right now. They're just trying to learn everything they possibly can and get ready for the midpoint and end of this race, Brad.
The thing I'm amazed at with Tony Stewart is how aggressive he's been to put himself in this position. Had to make a couple of really, heart-stopping. Yeah, I tell you what, though, the guy is not letting the game come to him. He's taking it to the game. He is driving the wheels off this race car. I'm really impressed with his aggressiveness.
What'd you say about champions yesterday? They don't want to settle for second,
nope,
no matter when it is.
He wants to win the race, and Tony Stewart is putting on a show right now.
Alan?
I like that, Big Brad. Nicole and Rusty taking the game to them. Tony Stewart is indeed trying to go out and take this championship by storm. Jamie McMurray, what an adventure this race has been. He restarted 14th, right? Remember, he fell from 6th to 23rd earlier, picked his way back up to 19th by the pit stops. Strategy got him up to 14th for the restart. And now McMurray in the 1 has just taken 7th spot.
Yeah, I watched him after he fell back on that initial start. His lap times were about as fast as anybody's. As a matter of fact, they were the fastest quite a few laps in a row. So he's got a fast car if he can just get the track position.
Boy, one thing today that he hasn't been able to do a lot this season, that's passing cars. You see Brad Keselowski trying to make a pass now, but Jamie McMurray moving forward.
David Ruderman, 0-0. 2 more races with Michael Waltrip Racing. Unknown plans for next season. Saw so many teams take just 2 tires on the pit stops back at lap 42. Jeff Burton, one of the teams that went for 4 fresh tires on the pit stop. Look what it did to them. Dropped them back from 12th to 20th. And he's just now made up that ground. I say just now. If this race goes green for a while,
I don't think it's going to make any difference, Alan, because I don't see that much difference in the speed of 4 tires. I mean, Tony Stewart's running lap times almost as fast as he's run all day. Doc?
Yeah, Jeff Burton just said, I understand we put 4 on, but because he was back in traffic and they were going to go ahead and put some fuel in it. But he said, right now, I cannot drive this car any freer than it is right now on entry. The team keeps telling him, hey, Jeff, you're faster than the cars you're looking at when your windshield out front. Just be patient. Jeff Burton told me in the pre-race on the stage, he is so desperate to win. He said, I know we've got a good short-run car. The key today is how we're going to hang on in the longer runs. And now he moves in on Kurt Busch.
Oh, both of them below the line there.
Kurt Busch had a little problem with Jeffrey Bodine there. He thought he was going to get a little more room down in turns 1 and 2 than that. Burton takes the spot away.
And Kurt tried for the crossover as Jeff Gordon moves in to join this fight for 10th, 11th, and 12th places.
You see right there what Jeff Burton's talking about. He can't be any freer in. You can see Kurt Busch gain on him on the entry, but Jeff Burton's car really good on exit, able to get a little distance now.
bit farther back, Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. Started 27th. He's running in 15th position. They're racing with Mark Martin. That 5 car started in 4th spot. As we watch Harvick get a move there on Martin. Doc?
Yeah, Kevin Harvick is very experienced at this racetrack. As you heard him say earlier in the pre-race, he's won here 7 times in NASCAR's 3 major series on the old configuration. Right now, he's very tight. And to quote Kevin, tight everywhere, guys. They told him they would free it up, but he's really tight in the middle and tied up off. Really hard to pass cars, DJ, when you can't get the car to turn coming up off.
Yeah, it just slows your speed down in the center, and then you go back to the throttle, and even though you might get to it pretty hard, that slower speed that you're having to make up for makes it a difficult passing situation.
Yeah, the other thing you got to worry about is you got to use a lot of brake when your car's tight, and using a lot of brake here, we've seen beads melt, and the right front tires go down, so that could be an issue they need to worry about.
Jamie McMurray continuing to try and march to the front, going by Martin Truex Jr.
This one car is extremely fast right now. Jamie McMurray just able to pass pretty much at will. See the speed that he carries through the center of the corner. Goes up just a little bit, kind of like the old Phoenix was. Call it diamond in the corner just a little bit, but really making a lot of speed here, Dave.
Now, DJ, the only thing to keep in mind, he just radioed his crew that he's picked up a vibration. He didn't say if it was driveline related, motor related, or what. But remember, Friday in final practice, they had some motor issues. Jamie brought the car into the garage. They changed everything in the fuel delivery system and seemed to have the problem licked. Let's keep our eye on him.
Dave, thanks. I talked to crew chief Kevin Mannion this morning, and he said they don't know what it was. No idea what the problem was on Friday, but the car went back out. After they went through it, it ran fine, and they were hoping for a good day today. Jeff Gordon taking a spot from Kurt Busch, 24 and 22. That's 11th place. And continuing to work some traffic, Dave Blaney, 35. Gordon hesitating there for a second, but everybody getting away okay. I was waiting for one of those accordion contact things there for a second. Tony Stewart out in front of the Kobalt Tools 500. Allmendinger, Edwards, Kenseth, and Ambrose, the top 5. Caution number 4 is out on the Kobalt Tools 500. Jeffrey Bodine had some contact with Casey Kane off of turn number 2. Has continued on around the racetrack. Here it is.
We've seen Bodine in a few tight spots here today, and he got one there he couldn't quite get out of.
Kane running in 21st at that time.
Johnson just sliding by there.
Sorry about that. Bodine now a couple of laps down. Pit stops for the leaders. Saw mostly just 2-tire stops last time. What's it going to be this time, Doc?
Not happening this time, Alan. Dinger says I'm just a tad tight, but I got to go ahead and put 4 tires. Only think clouds are moving in and the track could change. Let's go today.
Same report for the leader. Just a little bit tight. Thinks that 4 tires will help him. No adjustments on leader Tony Stewart. Vince?
Carl Edwards, upper right-hand side of your screen. He says it's a little too tight in the center. They're going to make a 4-tire change and air pressure adjustment in both front tires. Matt Kenseth says the brakes are shaking and it's also a bit shovey with the nose. Air pressure, track bar, and 4 tires for the 17 as well. They got to get that 17 car better if he's to hold off some of those front runners in a battle off pit road. It looks like it's Kenseth this time holding off Tony Stewart.
Same thing as last time. Kenseth earned the right to pick that first pit stall by qualifying on pole. Second consecutive pit stop. He's used it to get the lead off pit road. Oh, by the way, that crew not too shabby as well.
Kobalt Tools 500 at Phoenix is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Enter this code at codespotter.com for a chance to win one-of-a-kind NASCAR VIP experiences. Papa John's. Earn free pizza fast with double Papa rewards every weekend. Only at papajohns.com. And Silver Star Ultra headlights from Sylvania.
One lap from the restart here at Phoenix. Our in-race reporter Tony Stewart is lined up second.
Hey, Tony, Dale Jarrett, you got it?
Man.
Looks like you got a pretty strong horse there today.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this mobile one off the Depot Chevy. It feels pretty good so far.
Racetrack changing much?
I don't think so. It's definitely got more rubber than what we've had in practice or testing here, but it's got wide, it's got racy, so we're having some fun.
All right, thanks for talking. Good luck.
Thanks, bud.
Free pass on this fourth caution of the race. Dave Blaney in the 35 car. The Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. First driver a lap down. Now Blaney in 32nd place is on the lead lap. So Matt Kenseth came down the pit lane in 4th position. Now is the race leader with Tony Stewart second. Another solid stop by Carl Edwards has him lined up 3rd. Allmendinger, Keselowski, McMurray coming to the green. Last time Stewart was able to power around Kenseth and get down in that inside lane in the lead. Doesn't quite have it yet. Now he does.
Who needs the outside lane? I mean, inside lane. He'll take the outside.
He's just so good getting back to the throttle.
Look at this behind him.
Uh-oh. Like we were going to be 3 wide getting into one there. Jimmy Johnson thought better of that.
48 car, just right side tires on his pit stop. Just 2 tire change there for the 48. Remember, they took 4 on the first pit stop and gave up some track position.
They were the only ones that took, well, actually Landon Castle took 2 also, but those were the only 2 cars that took only 2 tires.
Whoa. Truex had a handful right there trying to get off the corner, going to cost him a spot.
Casey Kane a little wide in that 4 car.
Jeff Gordon slipped there. It's got him in a 3 wide situation. Well, they're 3 wide. It's just Ryan Newman's on the apron.
What was that? That was even a little farther down than we've seen most.
Short way around, made the pass. Like Gordon trying to get back to the bottom. He got extremely loose down in this part of the racetrack last time. That's how he got in that 3 wide.
Jimmy Johnson getting shuffled back some.
Get shuffled back some more right here. He's awfully high right there. See what he can do. He's holding on.
Yeah, but it's loose.
See
the
Brian
back
Vickers
hanging
sliding
out.
off.
Wow.
Corner.
Kurt Busch, Juan Pablo Montoya, 3 wide. Vickers on the outside.
Not going to work.
Montoya momentarily gives way.
It wasn't because he wanted to, I'll assure you.
That's kind of why I threw that asterisk in there with the momentarily.
Yeah.
Check out what got Jimmy Johnson shuffled around a couple laps ago.
Whoa. Yeah, you can see as he tried to go back to the throttle really hard, just the back end wasn't under him. Cracked the throttle just a little bit, cost him about 4 spots at that time.
Was 11th, went back to 15th. Working on Brian Vickers for 14th. As Vickers works on Juan Pablo Montoya for 13th.
Yeah, you see Jimmy Johnson still fighting a loose race car. Can't get off the corner. Extremely loose with these 2 tires. That makes it even more difficult when you got cars on the inside, 1 car right on your rear bumper. Just like a little space about this time, but you got to go.
27 car, Paul Menard. 18, Kyle Busch. Casey Kane in the 4, also in the mix here. Vince?
Well, that's 27 car, Paul Menard. It's been a bit of a struggle throughout the course of the day. Radioed in a little while ago, said he just felt like the engine was missing and then bogging down, but he believes it's more electrical than something like a valve spring, which Slugger Alabi, his crew chief, asked about. So not going very smoothly right now for the 27, and they're a little confused as to what the problem might be.
All right, Vince, thanks.
Yeah, watching Casey Kane here, I think we all felt that watching the practice on Friday afternoon that this was going to be one of the cars to beat. He's back in the 19th spot right now, really not going forward.
Yeah, he wasn't just fast in practice. He was fast on just about every sheet. I mean, whether it's 10 laps, 15 laps, he was one of the fastest cars consistently in practice.
May show just how different the racetrack is after race yesterday from the Nationwide Series, a K&N race here, even though they had the rain to wash that off, but it is a lot more rubber now.
I'll tell you one thing I did see. I was in the garage looking at tires because just, trying to figure out how this tire was going to wear. And the left side tires, mainly the left front on Casey Kane's car, had more graining than any other tire that I'd seen on any other car.
Why?
Well, it's probably overworking that left front. And, you say that. That's what you actually are trying to do is work the left front as much as possible. But their setup just kind of works that left front, kind of overworks it.
So in seeing that, I'm sure that Kenny Francis might have been a little concerned with that. Do they make an adjustment that may have hurt the turning of this car now?
Johnson, sorry, DJ.
Well, get back to the adjustment. I did talk to Kenny Francis, and they felt like they were going to be good. I don't think they did make any changes for that.
Yeah, 5-time champs having a lot of problems with that 48.
Hang on to it.
How about this for Vince?
Well, it's been real loose. In fact, you've heard it in Casey Kane's voice as he's talked to Kenny Francis. They needed some help. Went down on the track bar round, took 3 rounds out of the left rear last time, put 4 tires on it. And yes, Kenny Francis was concerned when I visited with him before the race about those left side tires. They put 4 tires on both times in their pit stops, guys. Doc?
And Jimmy Johnson just said, you heard him say a moment ago, hang on, man, we'll get you some tires. And Jimmy said, guys, it is scary, scary loose. And on top of that, I'm chattering the front tires right about there is where he said a moment ago. I'm chattering the front tires, entering it in the middle of the corner. So not a good situation for Jimmy Johnson in the 48.
Doc, thanks. Johnson back in 21st position and about to give that up to Clint Boyer in the 33. Well, Matt Kenseth started on pole. Twice on pit stops, his crew has gotten him back to the lead after he lost it under the green flag. And the times he's lost it under the green flag, it's been one guy who's taken it from him. The man who's trying to take the championship away from Carl Edwards. Tony Stewart out in front. He's led 69 of the 110 laps completed so far in the Kobalt Tools 500. We are through at 1/3 of today's second to last race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season at Phoenix. Race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch coverage live from Phoenix. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. Look at that camera view. Sold out crowd at Phoenix today. And after a 50% chance of showers in the forecast, and some rain showers this morning, beautiful sunny skies in the Valley of the Sun. Take an inside look now at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. How about leading laps at Phoenix? Well, no one has led more laps here than 5-time Jimmy Johnson. Not today, but over the course of the years. Tony Stewart has been the man today, though, out in front of this race for 76 of the 118 laps that we put in the books. And as far as making moves through the field today, Matt Kenseth, among active drivers, won this race from the lowest starting spot in the field. That was back in 28th position. Kyle Busch today started 42nd. He's moved up 27 spots to 10th. Get closer to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with unlimited access to highlights, news, and more. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. No shortage of speed on the part of Tony Stewart today. Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, top 3. That's been the top 3 for a lot of the race in varying orders, with a couple of other people like Allmendinger mixed in and out.
Yeah, and their times have been close. They kind of all alternate with first, second, third fastest laps on the track. But Tony being the fastest and able to stay out front the majority of the time.
4 cautions in the race so far. Scott Speed, Michael McDowell, Joe Nemechek, Mike Skinner, Travis Kvapil out of the race. Regan Smith still off the track after a lap 2 crash. Matt Kenseth started on pole, led early. Twice his crew's gotten him back to the lead on pit stops. Right now, Vince, he runs second.
That's right, led 40 laps in the early going, like their car early. Since then, it's been a little bit more difficult, had a vibration. And now relating to crew chief Jimmy Finning how the car is similar to what it was earlier this season in Loudon.
Exactly like New Hampshire. 80 laps, I'm done. We gotta quit running these fans or something, Jimmy. I should have known better after New Hampshire.
We'll get some tape off next time.
Yeah,
talking about those brake pads. Let's go to Tim Brewer in the Craftsman Tech Garage. And Tim, how does that then be affected by the pulling of the tape off the front?
Well, these pads are very, very temperature sensitive. But what Matt's talking about, when you've got a driver that goes down in the corner, jumps on the brake pedal, he can use a soft pad because he's going to get off. But if you've got a driver that actually rides the pad down in the corner, you're going to create a lot more heat. But what we're having right here is a situation, it's the composition of the pad. What Matt has to do now, take a little bit of tape off, get some heat in them to make them work better. But the indicator right here, you can use the pedal, but the pedal goes away, you've got to transfer that. By transferring right here, you can shift the brake from the front of the car to the rear of the car. That's an adjustment he can make inside the car, but he's going to have to go back and research that, but you're not going to win the race here at the end without a good set of brakes. AB?
Tim, thanks. Yeah, you're carrying a lot of speed off into the corners at this Phoenix track, even though it's a mile. About 160 miles an hour into the straightaways, and you're scrubbing off 60 or so miles an hour at the end of each of these straights.
Yeah, you can't be off the gas that long. You just have to be on the brake to get it slowed down, and then you want to carry the momentum.
Well, that's the key. You know, you want to use that brake pedal. That's why you want good brakes, because the least amount of time you spend doing that, the faster you go.
Brad Keselowski, there's the scoring serial on his day. Dave?
And it's a pleasant surprise for the two-team. Crew Chief Paul Wolf, when I talked to him this morning, was not real confident about this race car. It's the same one that they tested with, but Brad crashed. It was very loose during the test session. They put a new front clip on it, rebuilt the car basically, and when they came back this weekend, the car was very, very tight. They've adjusted on it. They've gotten it to where Brad can race with it now, and he's passed quite a few race cars today. Dr. Punch?
And back behind him, how about a great run so far from that car, the 31 of Jeff Burton. 111 races, that's how long it's been since he's been to victory lane, over 3 years ago. And Burton said, you know what? He said, this car started out very free for about 15 laps, then it got good for 15 laps, and now I'm starting to lose the nose. Major changes in the car and the racetrack, just over a 45-lap run. Dave.
Jamie McMurray's McDonald's Chevy very fast today, and as for that vibration he had before the last round of pit stops, I checked with crew chief Kevin Mannion. Bono told me that they believe the vibration was from the left side tires that they left on after the first pit stop. Had over 90 laps on them. He said we saw some graining, and we believe that extreme wear was what was causing the vibration. No mention of it since. Jamie?
And Kurt Busch is 10th as we have Regan Smith backing up on pit road right now. But Kurt Busch not happy so far in the early runnings with his race car.
I'm not talking about today's program. I'm talking about in general. I don't know how the two-car can be 2% tighter than us on paper and still drive around this racetrack. Get focused here and go, guys. Let's go. Turn forward.
And the voice you heard at the end there was Roger Penske telling his driver to be focused. Kurt basically saying he's so tight and he doesn't understand why the two-car is better. Kurt also said that our problems we've had week in and week out, they're magnified on this track and this new surface, Alan.
Kurt running 9th right now. Jamie, thanks. Jamie referenced Regan Smith. He has just come from the garage, made a lap, went back to pit road, and the reason he was backing up was because his crew was still running from the garage to his pit stall. And he needed to have an adjustment made on that car to meet the minimum speed and continue in the race. There's the fight for the lead. Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth with Carl Edwards running 3rd at Phoenix. That is why they call this the Valley of the Sun. It's beautiful. And Phoenix International Raceway, tucked in the desert hills, in Avondale, just to the south and west of downtown, where the penultimate race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season is unfolding before a sellout crowd. Riding with Kevin Harvick, while we remind you that while we're at the second to last race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup season, the final race of the NHRA season is today. You can see the NHRA Auto Club of Southern California Finals Championships up for grabs, ESPN2 at 7 Eastern. We'll have the day's wrap-up on NASCAR Now, late night ESPN2, 10 Eastern time, and then next weekend it's on to the Ford Championship weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway. Nationwide Series champion to be crowned Saturday in the Ford 300, 4 Eastern time, ESPN2. And who's going to win this NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship? Ford 400 next Sunday. Coverage starting at 2 Eastern here on ESPN. Reasonably safe to say it won't be Kevin Harvick that will be taking that championship trophy home. And Kevin illustrated of so many guys in this championship. One bad day turned the whole thing around. Remember at Talladega, Kevin was there in the hunt for the championship and got swept up in that wreck. And that's been it ever since.
That's why everybody worries about that Talladega race. Call it a wild card. It usually turns out to kill somebody's chase every year.
Yeah, I'd have to say, though, I know that one bad finish points-wise did that, but just haven't seen the speed out of this 29 car. You know, we haven't seen a lot of it all year long. I know he won 3 races early on, only leading 9 laps in getting that done, but just been missing a little bit all along the way here.
29 car racing with Juan Pablo Montoya for 12th spot right now, Doc.
Yeah, Kevin told me before the race today, he said, I just want to stay in position so when the 14 and the 99 lean on each other, take each other out, I'm right there to win this championship. And right now, he's the one that has an issue. He just radioed that I've got a big-time vibration here, Kevin said. The car was free early in the run, and now as the track is tightening up, it's chattering a little bit. And guys, not what you want to hear in a racetrack like this, a vibration in the front.
Can't be a comfortable thing behind the wheel.
No, that gets very uncomfortable, and as you try to continue to drive hard, that's only going to get worse, and you just hope that you can get a caution and it's not you.
Yeah, we've heard quite a few drivers complain about that vibration, and it is possibly due to those left side tires graining up and making that, putting that shake in the steering wheel.
Get the caution, don't be the caution. Ryan Newman trying to get around Montoya while Montoya tries to get around the 29 of Harvick. We're on that conversation of guys who are not going to win the championship. Jimmy Johnson's run of 5 consecutive titles is going to come to an end. We remember the vicious crash he had at Charlotte Motor Speedway, wound up with a 34th place finish on that night. And for Jimmy Johnson, that took him from 4 points off the lead to 35 points off the lead, and he's not been able to recover since. What a run it's been.
It's been spectacular. Don't know that we'll ever see anything else again like it. Here's Kevin Harvick, that vibration on pit road.
Green flag stop here for Harvick, just shy of halfway, Doc.
And it's about 23 laps before they would have a scheduled stop, but he couldn't wait any longer. They're going to make a chassis adjustment. They're trying to tighten him up for early in the run. They'll put on 4 tires. You can't take a chance putting on 2 when you got a vibration like that. Left side tire. They'll top it off with Sunoco fuel. Now he's down and away. And now they will check and they can figure out what the vibration was. Harvick is away.
Kevin gave up 12th spot for the pit stop. We'll see where it cycles out by the time he comes back onto the racetrack and gets up to speed. Got a pretty good little race for the lead shaping up here as Tony Stewart is wound through some lap traffic. Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards have reeled him in.
Yeah, and I predict it will be a race. If they get to Tony Stewart, I don't expect Tony to give him the lead like we would normally see in a long race. When somebody runs you down to kind of let them go. Tony Stewart didn't do that last week at Texas, and I don't expect he'll do it here.
I think you're exactly right. Yeah, he's got his mindset on leading the most laps and getting that point on his calendar too.
Member in the NASCAR championship system, new for 2011. Lead a lap in the race, get 1 bonus point toward the championship. Lead the most laps in the race, get another bonus point, plus what you get for your finishing result in the day. Stewart after maximum points today in Phoenix, try to wrestle the championship lead away from Carl Edwards.
It is time to push the limits of both man and machine. With only 2 races left in the tightest chase in history, Edwards and Stewart are searching for control. 2 men, 2 machines, and the Sprint Cup. Because every lap, every lead change, every pit stop could make the difference in an all-out chase to make the imperfect perfect.
It has been about a perfect day so far for Tony Stewart in the second to last race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Stewart leading the most laps so far today, but while Matt Kenseth runs second, Stewart's rival for the title, Carl Edwards, not too shabby himself. He is running in 3rd position. As we come up on the midway point of this race, Edwards says his team seeks information, closing in on a green flag pit stop.
Tell me about your car, bud. I want to do air pressure out of the front and a little tiny bit of wedge to get you going.
Sounds good. Just a little tiny bit snug in the center. Just a little. Real good in and off right now. Just a little free into 1.
All right, that's the feedback from Edwards to Bob Osborne as the run to pit road has begun, Dave.
Marcus Ambrose said, this run my car is a little bit tighter in the center. They will make a chassis and air pressure adjustment for Ambrose. A 4-tire change. They'll get it full of Sunoco fuel. Doc?
Jeff Gordon in for a scheduled stop. Loose early, tight late in the run. 4 tires, no other adjustments. Tops it off with Sunoco fuel, guys.
Next stop, Juan Pablo Montoya's in. Mike Bliss in. Jimmy Johnson in. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in as well. Doc?
Jimmy Johnson saying I'm really tight in the middle, from the middle off. So they're going to go ahead and make an air pressure change. 4 tires on the 5-time and defending Sprint Cup champion, Jamie.
And the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. in as well. Steve Letarte told me this morning this weekend has been, quote, a disaster, and it has not been any better today. Dale Jr. is stuck in the position he's been running. They have changed everything on this car. They are legally allowed to do wedge, air pressure. They did the track bar adjustment again there. 4 tires, everything to try to help him out, and the car is not getting better.
And while we watch the pit stops left side of the screen, here's the race for the lead. Matt Kenseth under Tony Stewart.
Yeah, you can see Tony's been struggling. Matt's been able to beat him into the center of the corner. Now he's beating him off the corner.
Kenseth back to the point as we cross halfway. Jamie?
Martin Truex Jr. said he had a chatter in the right rear tire. They're taking air out of the right front, putting the wedge back in, and there's a caution on the track. Let's
Car
go back
on the wall.
upstairs
Turn
now.
number 1, Jamie. Jeffrey Bodine.
All right, go low.
Yeah, that looks like the melting of the bead on the right front tire. A solid lick in the 1.
Sorry, guys.
That's one of the reasons you'd want to try to stay out as long as possible, because we've seen a lot of this week. A lot of heavy braking. You know that it's bound to happen to somebody, and when it does, you don't want to be caught having made a pit stop and be 2 laps down.
Yeah, and different than we've been seeing on some of these 1.5-mile tracks and other tracks, where if somebody gets in, then that brings everybody in. You don't want to put yourself in that position here.
Yep, that does have all the makings of the right front being down. So to the garage for Bodine, and the yellow flag out for a 5th time. Clint Boyer had been on pit road just before the caution. All the other guys who'd made green flag pit stops going to have to stay out and look for that wave around.
The official just barely got out of the way.
Made the audible call there when the caution came out to send him out with just the 2 tires.
Yeah, and that's nothing Clint Boyer did wrong there. It was time to go, and that was close. Glad it looks like everybody's okay.
Leaders in. We start with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Let's check in with A.J. Allmendinger here. He said the car's a little bit tight on entry. When the car loads up, he said it bounces the front end and it gets tight on exit. They're going to make an air pressure change here. Top it off with Sunoco fuel and an air pressure change. Let's check in with Dave.
Tony Stewart lost the lead at the corner that was hurting him the most. Tight in the center of 3 and 4. Also a little tight getting into 1. Track bar and air pressure adjustment. Vince?
Up right side of your screen, Carl Edwards. You heard him say he liked it. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment in the front tires, a little wedge as well. Now the 17 of Matt Kenseth, add tape to the grill, 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment. Kenseth, the first one off pit lane.
Keselowski up 2 spots, Stewart down 2 in the exchange on the pit lane, and some trouble for Allmendinger. Going to kick him back to 9th position. We have a pattern here with that 17 team.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Making maximum use of having that number 1 pit stall as well. So Matt Kenseth back out in front. We're past halfway, so it's time to go NASCAR Nonstop. Today presented by Kobalt Tools.
This new AT&T 4G LTE is fast.
Hey, 2 tickets just opened up on the 50. Yep, about to go pick them up from Will Call.
So 46 seconds ago.
Did you guys hear that Chapman rolled his ankle? It's done. Get out there.
So 12 seconds ago.
Do you guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
Did you guys hear someone stole the other team's mascot? So 27 seconds ago.
Stay a step ahead with 4G LTE, with speeds up to 10 times faster than 3G. AT&T.
1,
2,
3.
1.
2.
And 3. With the Bank AmeriCard Cash Rewards credit card, earn more cash back for the things you buy most.
1% cash back everywhere, every time.
2% cash back on groceries.
3% back on gas, automatically.
No hoops to jump through.
It's as easy as 1,
2.
3. The Bank AmeriCard Cash Rewards card. Apply online or at a Bank of America near you.
Freedom is our country's most precious commodity. I'm Gary Sinise. We must remember those who have served to protect and defend our nation. I'd like to invite any person who has served in the U.S. military to attend Golden Corral's Military Appreciation Monday free thank you dinner the Monday after Veterans Day. While there, show your support to the disabled American veterans. You've served honorably. Now let us serve you.
People think because I spend all my weekends at the racetrack, my life is predictable. Actually, things are constantly changing. And whether I need to protect my ATV, my truck, a new home, cover my home away from home, having life insurance, or a growing business, with Nationwide Insurance, I can bundle them together and save. You can too, up to 25%. So call Nationwide Insurance today to bundle and save.
Nationwide is on your side. Call 866-500-5555.
Monday, NFC North rivals clash at Lambeau. The undefeated Packers, led by red-hot Aaron Rodgers and his explosive receiving corps, take on the Vikings, powered by Adrian Peterson and sack machine Jared Allen. With A-Rod on pace for a record-breaking season, the defending champs look to continue their historic push for perfection. ESPN Monday Night Football. Vikings-Packers at 8:30.
Green flag at Phoenix. Brad Keselowski wide in one. See how much this is going to cost him.
Yeah, it'll be a long time getting back in line here. All of that good work on pit road and everything that the 2-car did is thrown out the window right there.
Now make sure you don't get caught up in something if you try
like
and
this.
get back in line. Yeah, it's Greg Biffle, hang on, and
Now
that's
Biffle,
16.
he's in a bad spot right there now. 4 wide for a minute.
Jeff Burton.
The 84 car, Cole Witt, doing a great job here today in this first Sprint Cup race, by the way.
A.J. Allmendinger. And we said he lost 4 spots on the pit stops, had a drop lug nut. Keselowski, 2nd to 9th on the restart slip.
Brothers found their way up into the top 5 here. Kyle Busch from the very back of the pack to get himself up in the top 5. Casey Kane showing up here where we expected him to be.
And the Busch brothers race there. Carl Edwards trying to get the lead away from Matt Kenseth. It would be important. Edwards has not led a lap today for that bonus point toward the championship.
Still hasn't. He's going to try to make... Oh, here Matt Kenseth.
Kenseth still losing some ground. And still losing ground.
Now, once you get out of that groove, you almost just have to stop. I mean, you have no grip. If you're going to keep from hitting the wall, you almost have to stop.
Yeah, and there's buildup out there off of the asphalt that's still coming up a little bit and the tire rubber, and it takes a little bit of time to get that off of there, plus get your nerve back.
Yeah. So, Carl Edwards collects a bonus point for the championship. Matt Kenseth goes from leading, now all of a sudden back to 5th place. And Tony Stewart is running 2nd. Trouble.
Hold the brake, hold the brake.
Cole Witt cautions out.
Well, he'd done a great job. He did a great job there. I don't think he hit anything, so still doing okay. Go get 4 tires on it. Try it again.
A couple things to catch up on. Casey Mears, free pass last caution.
Put the tires on here, guys.
Guys that had stopped under the green that got caught by the yellow that took wave arounds for the last restart. Jeff Burton, Martin Truex, Marcos Ambrose, Kevin Harvick, Juan Pablo Montoya. They took the wave around to get back on the lead lap. Big break for them with this yellow.
Yeah, you're looking at the 31. He drove all the way up to 15.
Some more guys took a wave around to get back to 1 lap down. Jeff Gordon and others. That a break for them. What happened here?
Got a little help there. He was out in that third groove too. Then he couldn't save it.
Martin Truex Jr. with the contact there. Colwood was 28th a lap down. Racing here. Looking to get approval to race at Homestead next week. Looking to get approval from NASCAR to be able to run the Daytona 500 next February. Wave around cars, the only ones to come onto the pit lane. We go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
If you're going to build a fuel-efficient car, the first thing you got to do is make a car that's worth building, that has all the luxury you'd expect. Then you put in an 8-speed transmission that gets 31 miles per gallon. That combination of luxury and efficiency only comes from one place in the world. Now lease the 2012 Chrysler 300 for $339 a month for well-qualified lessees.
Why do we have Aflac?
Aflac!
And Major Medical?
Major Medical, boy, yeah!
I helped pay the doctor. Ain't that enough for you?
There are things Major Medical doesn't do. Aflac pays cash so we don't have to fret.
Something families should get.
Like a safety net.
Even helps pay deductibles to cover your back with.
Help protect your family at Aflac.com.
At Goodyear, everything we've learned making these tires inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven.
So, Carl, how do you train for a race?
Let's go for a spin. I'll show you.
Please slow down!
Egg white muffin melt, high protein, won't slow you down.
Yeah, I love this part.
All right, let's go.
Hey, let's go. You're killing me!
Like any other day, this February 26th will last 24 hours. But unlike most days, this February 26th will also last forever. Because that's the day of the Daytona 500. A day that creates more legends, more breathtaking moments, and more unforgettable memories than any other. Isn't it time you experience the day that lasts a lifetime? Great seats can still be yours for the Daytona 500. Call 1-800-PIT-SHOP or visit Daytona500.com.
This year, winning means more, and Jimmy Johnson would do anything to win. He'd sleep in his car to be first at the track. If it would help him win, he'd do it, because Jimmy Johnson would do anything to win.
This week on Monday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers welcome the Vikings to Lambeau Field. It's rookie quarterback Christian Ponder and Adrian Peterson and the Vikings trying to defeat their undefeated division rivals. Packers-Vikings, 8:30 Eastern. Monday Night Football also available live on Watch ESPN. As always, coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's. Back at Phoenix, we are 171 laps in, and if you're looking for the Hendrick Motorsports cars, who in the past have done so well here, you're going to have to go pretty deep into the field. Only Mark Martin within the top 15.
Yeah, they are both struggling big time right now. I mean, all the teams, all four cars. Generally, though, the Jimmy Johnson car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Gordon, as you see on our graphic right there, struggling the most. And I really don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just a bad handling car, a sequence of bad pit stops, or what it is. But I'm not going to rule them out. I think by the end of the race, they get themselves back up there.
Absolutely. By the time we get to the end of this race, I expect both those two guys, Gordon and Johnson, to be back in the mix.
Pace car diving down pit road, coming back to the green flag. It is Tony Stewart in second, Carl Edwards in first. Seen Tony Stewart so many times be able to hold off a move, make a move on the outside, but right now at least it is Carl Edwards.
Stewart trying the crossover, wrestling that car into turn 3, and Kurt Busch looking for an opening.
Wasn't he just complaining about his car? How it didn't drive very good? He's wheeling it around here. I'm speaking of Kurt Busch, though, up in third right now.
And his brother Kyle right there as well. Remember, Kyle started in 42nd place.
Kurt's going to be complaining again up there in that speedy drive.
Look at this, 4 wide through the dog leg. And they made it.
Low as they went there, they could have stopped by the hot dog stand and got a little snack.
You're giving the fans a good close-up shot down the back straightaway.
I think Jimmy Johnson
stretch. There's nothing straight about that.
Jimmy Johnson just scuffed the wall off turn number 4. We'll look back at that and see if we could see Matt Kenseth continuing to lose ground. Ruderman by him. Newman working on him.
Yeah, Kenseth really struggling after the green flag waved here. Been having some brake issues and could be magnified right here.
Kenseth continuing to slide, Vince.
Well, and it's a brake issue. We've heard radio from Matt throughout the course of the day talking about the brake. Says he's got to pump the brake pedal 8 to 10 times, hoping that it will actually grab entering the turn. Boy, can you imagine the tension there as he goes into that turn and hopes that it sticks and holds?
Yeah, not fun.
No, and you basically can't drive a race car like that. And sometimes just what he said, hoping it's going to grab, and you don't know where that's going to happen. We've seen a number of times him get really loose right as he got to the center of the corner.
Whoa, contact there. Brian Vickers pushing Matt Kenseth. Martinsville payback issued at Phoenix.
It sure was.
83.
That's all that was.
You can see Matt, he had his foot on the brake.
Yeah, Matt was basically going to let him go by.
Jimmy.
Because he just wasn't able to get into the corner. He was going to let Vickers have the inside, but Brian found a time that it was make sure that he remembered Martinsville.
Destroyed us, actually, so.
Matt Kenseth had been sliding back. He restarted 5th, had fallen back to 12th position. And a couple of more in that last lap by. And Brian Vickers, with whom he tangled pretty severely a couple of races ago at Martinsville. I don't think there's much question about that.
No doubt about it.
I'm about 102% sure.
We have line.
Well, remember back in the race at Martinsville, really the incident that took Matt Kenseth out of contention for the NASCAR Sprint Cup title. He and Vickers had tangled. Kenseth shoved Vickers off into the corner. Then some contact on pit road and contact just after the ensuing restart. And Kenseth had a tire go down and went into the wall himself in the corner. And that finish essentially ending the 17th chance to contend for this championship. Vickers attempting retribution later in the race at Martinsville.
What the hell is he doing? He just stopped going down the backstretch.
Looks like it hurt Brian Vickers' car a little bit too.
Well, that was Brian's view of it, that Matt stopped going down the backstretch.
I'm not saying that Matt wasn't coming out of the throttle back there. He was going to give him the inside, and Brian just drove him on into the corner, though.
A lot of troubles for that 17 car. Caution out at Phoenix. We go NASCAR nonstop today, presented by Kobalt Tools.
Turn your world upside down with Gillette Fusion Pro Glide, because you can shave against the grain with comfort. Fusion Pro Glide's microcomb guides hair for its thinner blades to cut close effortlessly. Get against the grain closeness comfortably with Gillette Fusion Pro Glide.
With an eye to the future, America's farmers bring us a renewable energy solution that will strengthen American business, as well as our nation's energy independence. American ethanol, from America's cornfields to America's racetracks. it's a brand new race day.
We parked the bus in one of the best places in sport. Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin, the undefeated Super Bowl champion Packers.
14 straight wins. That Packer crowd will be rocking. Only thing I can't remember Green Bay doing is going undefeated, but they just might.
Maybe they won't. Division rivalry. Minnesota Vikings, a week off, they'll be ready to roll in this matchup.
Getting set for the restart. Join Goodyear and NASCAR in saluting America's armed forces and give back by helping support our troops. Visit Goodyear.com/support our troops to learn more. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. The top two in the championship, side by side, first and second in this race as we come to a restart with 131 laps to go. Edwards leading Stewart.
Still there. He's still out their corner. Still out their door now. Still there. Still there. Still there. One back to the 22. Clear. Clear by 2. 3. We will get him back. Nothing lost.
Times today. Tony Stewart using the outside line on a double file restart to get the lead. Previous times from Matt Kenseth. This time from Carl Edwards.
Yeah, just so Carl knew that he could pass him on the restart too. You see Kurt Busch trying to take this third spot back from his brother, Kyle.
What a story, Kyle Busch. Remember parked by NASCAR last weekend? After the retaliation exacted under the caution in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race a couple of nights before. A lot of speculation this week. Would Kyle be fired? Would sponsor M&M Mars leave the team? The decision, Kyle drives this 18 car. M&M Mars will not back it for this race. And next week's season finale at Homestead, Miami, they will be back with Kyle and this team in 2012. Kyle started last in this race after an engine change. After the first lap of practice, NASCAR's one engine per weekend rule, he's driven his way now up to third spot.
Yeah, he lost that engine in the first practice and lost really every bit of that. Didn't get much time at all on the track. And then in the second one, he wasn't that good either. I mean, he really never showed the speed that we're seeing out of him right now.
What a drive for Kyle Busch today. There is Matt Kenseth behind the wall, sitting in his car, while his team works on repairing that 17 machine. A lot of damage to fix there to get him back on the racetrack.
That's looking like maybe he's going to take rear end housing and a lot of other things there.
Yeah, it's going to take trailing arms, lower control arm. You can see everything. The radiator was busted too. They got a lot of work to do.
While Brian Vickers runs in 19th position. Kyle Busch slowing down. Jamie?
Alan, you just talked about the story. They blew an engine. This is a JGR motor. They blew an engine on Friday. Kyle Busch fought his way all the way to third and just now said, I'm blowing up. I'm blowing up. The team has jumped off the pit box. He's making his way. He's trying to hang on. Under the hood. You see the smoke coming out. He says he's done.
Wow.
Yeah, not much they can do about that. He's not going to be long. He'll be sitting in the garage. See the smoke coming out. And that's too bad. Had a good run going.
So while Kyle Busch continues to cycle, and we wait to see if that thing will totally give up and bring out another caution, there's the race for the lead. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards. What's becoming just a classic fight for the championship between these two.
They just ran the fastest laps of the race last lap.
Kurt Busch running third. Brad Keselowski in the two running fourth. Remember we saw the Vickers-Kenseth tangle a minute ago. That got some radio conversation going.
Yeah, Martinsville lives at Phoenix, just so you know there, Brad, for that caution. Wait, Vickers wrecked them? Oh, yeah. All right. I don't remember who I made mad at Martinsville now. Nobody. That's a good thing.
I gotta love that.
I'm not sure Brad made anybody mad at Martin. He was on the bad end of a little action at the very end of the race, cost him a lot of points.
And speaking of things that have cost guys championships, right? The getting knocked out of 8th place in the last 2 laps at Martinsville, and then the pit road contact with Denny Hamlin at Texas last week that Brad said was completely his fault. Now, right behind Keselowski and racing for that spot, A.J. Allmendinger in the 43 car. A little story developing with that team, Doc.
Yeah, he takes the spot away, AB. You know, we saw a mid-race pit crew swap a year ago when the 24 crew was brought in to take over for the 48. It's happened again today, but this time it's the 6 crew of David Reagan's Ford coming up, the UPS team coming up. They're going to take over now. They will be changing tires for the rest of this race for the 43 and A.J. Allmendinger. On the previous pit stop, they dropped lug nut, cost Allmendinger 4 spots, put him back in traffic, and he's had to fight his way back to the front. But from now on, here on after, it'll be the UPS crew pitting the 43 car, guys.
Now there's the difficulties on the pit stop, Doc. Look at the right rear. It cost Allmendinger the troubles on the stop. And not a happy crew chief, Greg Irwin. They've obviously got a very fast race car. He's running 4th.
They've got a great race car here today, and can't have mistakes like that and expect to have an opportunity to get that first victory for Allmendinger in the Sprint Cup Series.
And if you weren't with us earlier, David Reagan involved in an accident on the 2nd lap of the race that pretty heavily damaged his car, and Reagan now running 11 laps down in 35th place. That's why the 6th crew was available for that swap. Kyle Busch has gone to the garage. And they'll have a look and see if they can figure out what's going on. Remember that while Denny Hamlin has switched to the Toyota Racing Development engines, Kyle Busch still using the Joe Gibbs Racing engines. And they have had a few different incidences of difficulty throughout the season with that program. Kyle has gone to the hauler. We hope to hear from him in a couple of minutes. Top 2 in the championship, running 1st and 2nd, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards. Coming up on the 2/3 mark of this race, we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
As a fan of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, I want to get as close to the action as I can get. One way to do that is to use the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app for my HTC Evo 4G. Another way is to hide in the back of Carl Edwards' car.
Get unlimited access to the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup with highlights, news, and more. Truly unlimited data, only from Sprint.
This is not as safe as I initially planned.
So, you know, actually, you fit the car pretty well. I felt that he was quite cheeky, to be honest. Look, you're gonna break it.
I'm telling you, I can fit.
But, you know, I don't like to judge, no matter how much of a fool he makes himself look.
Do you think he's capable of driving your car?
Well, if we can get him sitting high enough in the seat, probably have to get him a kid's seat so he can see over the steering wheel. You look ridiculous in there.
True champions trust the synthetic technology of Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR. Many drivers, one oil, Mobil 1.
The USO supports the troops, so Papa John's supports the USO. In honor of Veterans Day, Papa John's is giving you any large pizza with your choice of any of your favorite toppings, just $11. Or go to papajohns.com now and order the USO meal deal, and $1 will be donated to the USO, an organization dedicated to lifting the spirits of America's troops and their families.
We made a lot of pizzas. Now we want to make a big difference.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Yeah!
Why would any fun-loving, red-blooded, all-American male give up watching football to upgrade his headlights? Because Silver Star Ultra headlights from Sylvania are up to 50% brighter and let you see up to 40% farther and up to 50% wider. But more importantly, because of who is behind the wheel.
Thanks, Dad.
See farther, see wider, see better. Silver Star Ultra headlights from Sylvania.
This year, winning means more, and Jimmy Johnson would do anything to win. He'd sleep in his car to be first at the track. If it would help him win, he'd do it, because Jimmy Johnson would do anything to win.
Hey fans, customize my gear. My gear. My gear. My gear. Only at the NASCAR.com Superstore.
Toe-to-toe, bumper-to-bumper, back and forth for the championship. Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, first and second here at Phoenix today, just as they were last Sunday at Texas Motor Speedway. In every sense of the word, racing to win this championship by winning races, running up front.
Look how this groove's moved up there. You see Tony, he's not really going all the way down to the bottom on either end of the racetrack. Seems to be working pretty good for him, so I kind of like what the racetrack's doing.
Yeah, seems like after he's run a while, his car tightens up and he can't get back to the bottom. He has to slow down too much, but he's making this second groove work really well.
Stewart's led 137 laps on the day today. Edwards just 15, but he's hunting that lead one more time. Speaking of championship, Reese Davis, analyst Kirk Herbstreit, and Craig James have BCS Countdown tonight. They'll unveil the latest BCS polls. Who are the contenders? Who are the pretenders? BCS Countdown, presented by Discover. ESPN tonight at 8:15 Eastern. Continuing on ESPNU at 9 Eastern. And boy, they've got some things to talk about tonight. Stanford losing to Oregon.
Yep, Boise State lost to TCU at home.
Yep. Interesting.
Carl Edwards trying to make Tony Stewart lose here. Tony Stewart's led the most laps in 3 of the last 4 races. He's pretty much done that here again today, so gathering up those bonus points, that's the way you get it done.
Get ready for this weekend. Tony Stewart said, I'm going out to win these last 2 races. There's nothing you're going to do differently than you did before. Just race to win and see how it happens.
Andy pointed out how he's been aggressive even in the lead of when somebody catches him. He doesn't allow him just to go by. It's not that time of year, is it?
No, sir. It's time to win this thing, and he is just racing every single lap. What are they saying now about this car, Dave?
He's not saying a thing because he's got a mirror full of that 99. And interestingly, in 7 chase races prior to this at Phoenix, Tony had never led a single lap. Now he has dominated this event. And speaking of laps, no one did more practice laps than Tony Stewart on Friday. 145 in total. And just one thing to keep in mind, that is wear on the motor. But so far, singing perfectly in the 14 car. Vince?
In the 99 of Carl Edwards, they've been pretty happy with the car, just telling Carl to be patient, that he'll catch the 14. Certainly aware of the championship situation and how many laps that Tony Stewart has led throughout the day, as you see that battle for 3rd place there on the right side of your screen. But as far as Carl Edwards, there's Allmendinger going underneath Kurt Busch. Allmendinger underneath Kurt Busch for that position. Edwards happy with the car, telling him to be patient as you see that battle just behind him.
Well, like I said before, Vince thinks that 43 is fat. Whoa, a little wobble there.
Didn't seem to hurt him, though. Pretty good wiggle, but he just keeps on digging.
43 car's another one that did a lot of practicing. He was second with the most laps, 142 laps of practice, so paying off well.
Since Phoenix has been one of Allmendinger's better racetracks, and talked about the pit stop slips they had earlier, so we'll see how that gamble works out within the Ford camp.
So impressed with Tony and how he's able to just get so focused and search around the racetrack, not afraid to venture up there where people think it's a little bit more dangerous or treacherous, but he doesn't mind it. He just gets up there, finds him something that works.
If you have a race car that you know's under you, man, it really makes racing a lot more simple. That may be kind of stating the obvious, but it allows you to do more things as the track conditions change.
See, Jeff Gordon has been overtaken by the leaders. That puts the 24 car 2 laps down.
And he's struggling with something there. I don't know what's wrong with him.
Saw them on our NASCAR nonstop, cutting an extra hole in the front of that car. While we watch this race for the lead, Matt Kenseth was involved in the fight up front a while ago. Vince, now he's behind the wall.
Well, in a major overhaul as this 17 crew continues to work on this car. They did such a great job in the pit lane today, but now a different task. Matt Kenseth, Matt, are you concerned at all or any doubt in your mind that that was in retaliation for Martinsville?
No, not at all. I mean, that's the really disappointing part, I guess, to me is, you're going to have those things in racing, and, when you get into people and they get back into it, and that's all part of it, and I understand all that, but it's a little disappointing to me that NASCAR doesn't step in, because when he's been telling everybody that I'll listen for 4 weeks, that he's going to wipe us out as soon as he got a chance, and then he does it. I mean, it doesn't get any more premeditated than that. If you walk around and tell somebody you're going to kill him for 4 weeks and then do it, it's pretty premeditated. So if you're going to penalize somebody, I think, for doing something in the heat of the moment 5 minutes after, like Kyle last week, I don't see how this would be different. But anyway, it's disappointing. I kind of expected it. It's too bad. We lost our brakes. Usually the only time you can keep up is if we're lapping them or we had no brakes like that instance. So it's just unfortunate, but we'll just move on, keep working on it, and hope to have a better week next week.
Jamie Little.
And Kyle Busch is out of the hauler now. They're finished for the day. Kyle, your crew chief, Dave Rogers, told me it was human error why you guys blew up on Friday. Any indication what it was this time?
No indication this time. Just catastrophic failure. Just really, really unfortunate, too. I mean, these guys worked their butts off, 2 weeks in a row, all season long. And it's just devastating, But when you go through turmoil like this, all you can do is group together and pull through it and try to persevere and move on, So we've got one more chance, one more opportunity next week to win a race before the year's out, to end it on a high note. And look forward to next year with everything going on. But can't say enough about all these guys on this Interstate Batteries team this weekend too. Just changing the engine, starting behind, coming through, not worried about qualifying, and just getting in the show all the way up to third. We had a shot. We were there, and just unfortunate that we weren't able to finish the race today.
And after the week they've been through, Coach Gibbs came on the radio and said, guys, we were in the top 3. We got to keep our heads high. Alan?
Yeah, that was a 6th blown engine in the race for Joe Gibbs Racing this year. And they've actually gone to the rear for blown engines to start a race 8 times. They had a lot of problems in their motor room.
Back up to third. Starting in the back, up to third for Kyle Busch today, but now he'll be in the garage at the finish of this one. Another one it sounds like is having struggles under the hood there might be Jeff Gordon. Doc, that car, am I hearing right as that car comes by? It sounds a little funny.
Well, the car actually is okay running-wise, but Jeff doesn't have any brakes, Alan, and they came in on lap 170 because the brakes were essentially gone. Tried to cut out the right front air duct in front to get air to him. Came back on lap 178, tried to do it again, and now Jeff basically says, I have very few brakes, if any at all. At the pump, I got next to nothing to slow the car down. It's a brake issue on the 24, Alan.
Well, that's why the engine sounds different. He's not on the gas all the way.
Running, yeah.
So Jeff Gordon continuing to fall back. Stewart and Edwards continuing to lead. We go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
ESPN Monday Night Football. Vikings-Packers at 8:30.
1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
and 3.
With the Bank Americard Cash Rewards credit card, earn more cash back for the things you buy most.
1% cash back everywhere, every time.
2% cash back on groceries.
3% back on gas, automatically.
No hoops to jump through.
It's as easy as 1,
2,
3.
The Bank Americard Cash Rewards card. Apply online or at a Bank of America near you.
Hey, everyone's eating tacos outside Bill's office. Do you think that's some information I would like to know? I like tacos. You invited Eric? I thought Eric gave you the creeps. Oh. Yeah. Hey.
Don't be left behind. Get it faster with 4G. AT&T.
We love ordering sushi, but it was getting expensive. So to save some money...
Looks great, huh?
And we're not real proud of this.
No, we're not.
Have you guys seen Captain Stewie and Little Miss Neptune?
Did you look all over the place under your desk? All around?
They're fish. They live in a bowl.
What are you gonna do?
There's an easier way to save.
Whatever.
Get online. Go to geico.com. Get a quote. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
As you saw in NASCAR nonstop, caution out, Robbie Gordon into the wall. Leaders on pit road, Doc.
Different pit crew, but 4 tires going to go on the 43 car. The UPS crew now pitting Allmendinger, 4 tires. No changes. Philadelphia Sunoco Fuel. Jamie.
22 at Kurt Busch, right sides. They made a chassis adjustment saying loose on throttle in the beginning. Then he gets too tight, Dave.
Leader Tony Stewart, just a little tight. Air out of the right front tire is the only adjustment for tires. Vince. Crew Chief Bob Osborne asked Carl Edwards to keep the wheels straighter entering the box. Carl was perfect on that entry. No changes, 4 tires for Carl Edwards in the race off pit road.
And a little strategy played by some crews there.
A couple of cars there out first. Kurt Busch, Paul Menard taking 2 tires.
And Paul Menard got 16 spots.
And Jeff Gordon with some extended attention on that 24 car. Checking out the brake system on that Chevrolet. Pit crews having just finished their work, we check out the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year Award standings. Kevin Harvick's team currently in the lead. You can help determine the standings. Vote from your AT&T phone by texting the car number to 234567 for the pit crew you think is the fastest and most valuable. Well, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards have been slugging it out up front for the lead for a while in this race. Get shuffled back a row on the restart because of some strategy. Stewart's our in-race reporter for the day, DJ.
Hey, Tony, Dale Jarrett, you got a copy?
Come in.
Well, quite a battle you and Mr. Edwards have going on there. How's your car right now?
It's pretty good. I mean, the track, I think, is getting a little bit tighter, so we're just trying to have to compensate for it a little bit here, but we've got a pretty good race car right now, so we just try to keep this track position, try to stay in the lead here.
You say compensate. We've noticed you moving up a little bit, the groove widened out, and you've moved up there. Is that how you're compensating and making your car work now?
Yeah, I've been running a little bit everywhere just to make sure I know what we got and what the track's doing. So I think I got a good read on where the racetrack is as far as for whatever my car is doing right now.
All right, man. Good luck. Thanks for talking.
But
Tony Stewart running in third for the moment with his rival for the title, Carl Edwards, 1 spot behind him in fourth. Now, caution was brought out by Robbie Gordon. Got into the wall up in turns 3 and 4 in the 7 car. He has taken it back into the garage after some pretty significant damage.
Just in a little bit too hard. You have to wonder, might have had some.
Yeah, it looks like he may have lost his brakes.
Yeah, brake failure there getting in. Got in awfully hard. A lot of damage.
So Gordon into the garage area. Caution gave Clint Boyer the free pass, and we are getting set for a restart with one car coming back out of the garage and rejoining the field. Wondering if there'll be a payback for the payback for the payback.
How do you keep up with all that?
I work hard. And 89 laps to go. Fuel to the finish. Let's listen.
But your tires are good. Your tires are good. We are 18 laps short here right now. 18.
Probably going to stop, huh?
Yeah, we're going to have to stop. We can't save 18 laps of fuel.
All right, we'll just make it a good one.
Edwards and Tony Stewart behind Kurt Busch and Paul Menard, who changed just 2 tires on that pit stop.
That was probably the worst restart that Tony Stewart's had all day.
And Edwards clears him into third. Kurt Busch's team changed left side tires. Paul Menard's team changed right side tires. Ryan Newman, 39. Jeff Burton, 31. 7th and 8th. Burton wide.
Getting up right at that edge.
David Ruderman in the 00, and Denny Hamlin. Haven't talked much about Denny today, but he's just cracked the top 10.
Well, first time he's really been up in there. We saw him on a restart a couple back that he was able to make up a few spots going down to the apron in the dog leg. It looks like he's getting his car handling a lot better. Early on, he had a handful.
Just behind them, Jimmy Johnson. Never had a chance to mention it, but 2 cautions ago, he got the free pass to get back onto the lead lap. And now Johnson is racing for 17th and 18th with Juan Pablo Montoya.
It's just been a real struggle. Whoa, trouble.
Brad Keselowski.
Man, nice save. Biffle did a nice job getting off of him as much as he could.
Casey Kane got shuffled back earlier in the race by taking 4 tires when a lot of the other teams took just 2 on an early pit stop, picking his way back toward the front. That is 4th and 5th positions there, Stewart and Kane.
Have to check on adjustments on this 14 car, but it doesn't seem like if it was air pressure related or something that they did, it's not to Tony's liking right now.
Yeah, this is not the best run he's had. As a matter of fact, it might be one of the worst runs today for him so far. We've been seeing him go forward. He's actually kind of falling back now.
And as far as Kane in this 4 car is concerned, they continue to be the best of the non-chasers in this closing stretch of the season. I talked with Jay Fry, general manager of the Red Bull team this morning. Any new news on the possible sale of this team? He said there are still things in the works. I don't expect anything will be done before the season ends and we get beyond Thanksgiving, but he was hopeful and very optimistic that this team will be on the track next season. He said that's why we've got Cole Witt out here in the 84 car. If we get this done, he's going to be one of the drivers involved.
There goes Edwards by Paul Menard.
That's second place.
Speaking of Cole Witt, he is in the lucky dog position right now, back in 25th, just 1 lap down.
How about this 22 car? Struggling with the handling earlier, kind of questioning where they were at on the radio. Little strategy call, little clean air.
Yeah, these are tremendous laps he's running. He's running as fast as anybody's run all day long on 2 tires.
By the way, he had moved up in the last run, so this is not like he came from nowhere.
Yeah, and it really looks like changing left side tires is really worth a lot of speed here.
So Kurt Busch out in front. 81 laps to go as we go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
People think because I spend all my weekends at the racetrack, my life is predictable. Actually, things are constantly changing. And whether I need to protect my ATV, my truck, a new home, cover my home away from home, having life insurance, or a growing business, with Nationwide Insurance, I can bundle them together and save. You can too, up to 25%. So call Nationwide Insurance today to bundle and save.
Nationwide is on your side. Call 866-500-5555.
Goodyear, driven by those who use the world as their proving ground. Goodyear, more driven.
Set me free, free from interruptions and slow down.
We're CenturyLink, a new kind of broadband company, committed to providing honest, personal service from real people. 5-year price lock guarantees, consistently fast speeds, and more ways to customize your technology.
Game day. It's all about being prepared. So be ready with the perfect complement to all your game day favorites. Bush's Baked Beans. Are you ready?
This year, winning means more, and Jimmy Johnson would do anything to win. He'd take 2 tires instead of 4 with laps to go. He'd wait till the final turn to make his move. He'd lock another driver in a porta potty and then go eat a steak sandwich. He'd even sleep in his car to be first at the track. If it would help him win, he'd do it. Because Jimmy Johnson would do anything to win.
Hey fans, customize my gear, only at the NASCAR.com Superstore.
Must have been great to see all those drivers back in the day.
Son, it was. I have memories when I was your age, watching the legends battle it out every week.
Mom, it's here!
Looking down on Kurt Busch, leading on a sparkling Sunday at Phoenix International Raceway. Join Goodyear and NASCAR in saluting America's armed forces and give back by helping support our troops. Visit Goodyear.com/support our troops to learn more. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR.
I'll tell you one thing, Goodyear nailed it here with this tire. It's unreal how this thing, the tires are holding the speed. They're running basically qualifying laps every lap and not losing any time. And that's why we see these two tires working so well. I really think you could just go with gas only and run just as fast.
Race for third, change for third. Casey Kane by Tony Stewart. Stewart has not kept up with Carl Edwards on this run. Dave, what's up?
Well, he radioed to Darian Grubb. I need to turn a little better in the center, but don't make me too loose in. Do you think that little air pressure out of the right front has done that?
Yeah, I think it might hurt us just a little bit, but I feel like it's a little bit of track change and more anything. We probably just missed an adjustment there to keep up with the track, but Tony will get his job done when it's over with.
So you think he might be happy with it in a few laps?
I didn't hear you there.
You think he might be happy with it in a few laps?
I hope so. We've got to go all the way to the end here, so it's a good change to no fuel.
It's interesting, guys. The crew chief has to not only try to make the driver happy, but also take care of what he sees the track changing.
I heard him say something right there. He said they were good to go on fuel.
Feels like it's too much out the right front.
Tony just said he feels like it may have been a little too much out of the right front there as they tried to make this car turn a little bit better. They took some air pressure out of the right front, and it's hurt Tony the handling of the race car. Probably mostly in the center of the corner.
Didn't we hear Carl Edwards' crew chief Bob Osborne say that they were short by quite a few laps? Yeah.
Tony Stewart running in fourth, Carl Edwards running in second. You see the championship picture. Stewart and Edwards have been in the top 3 or 4 all race long, a lot of times in the middle section of the race, running first and second. We look back from the leader, Kurt Busch. Talked about A.J. Allmendinger running up into the top couple earlier. The change of pit crews on the pit lane. But now, Allmendinger finds himself back in 9th spot.
I think maybe we are seeing this racetrack change quite a bit. Maybe even as they've run on here. We see some cars that weren't running all that well now are running well, and some others like Tony, A.J. Allmendinger, that seem to be struggling.
Getting up the racetrack a little bit is not going to be a good thing.
We're in trouble, man. We're in big trouble here. Tires are terrible.
That was Allmendinger a little bit ago, Doc, and he continues to slide back from 5th to 9th and maybe more.
Yeah, well, he had been so consistent for much of the day. And then you saw a moment ago the 31 car of Burton got up behind him, and Allmendinger basically overdrove or overcharged the corner, and then the car got very, very loose, and so he basically let the 31 go, and 3 other cars went by, so he went from 7th back to about 10th spot in one turn. Now he has calmed down, basically backed off, is taking his time getting in, and you saw a moment ago, he went back by the 27 car, has now moved back up to 8th position. It wasn't a tire issue as much as it was he was driving the car so hard, and he was very, very loose. He perceived that we were in trouble because of the tire. They told him to calm down. You'll be okay. Now he's coming back.
All right, Doc, thanks. We'll talk a little more about those track conditions and what might be going on here, throwing some of these leaders off in a minute. We go NASCAR Nonstop first, presented by Kobalt Tools.
You know why you don't see other full-size pickup trucks straight off the line that can do this? Because only one can. The Ram Power Wagon. Guts, glory, Ram.
Here's to the pursuit of better, faster, cleaner, funner. Here's to the pursuit of a Pennzoil motor oil so advanced, Elio uses it straight from the bottle in his Indy car. Here's to the pursuit of another 100 years of earning America's trust. Not just oil, Pennzoil. Enter for a chance to win at participating AutoZone locations or at Pennzoil.com.
Hi, we're Ed and Dean Rowland from the band Collective Soul.
We've had the privilege to visit and perform for our troops in the Middle East, Asia, and Africa to say thanks. Each year our friends at Golden Corral thank our military too.
We'd like to invite all former or active duty military to attend Golden Corral's free thank you dinner.
While there, show your support to the disabled American veterans.
So stop by Golden Corral for dinner and let us serve you.
Why do we have Aflac?
Aflac?
And Major Medical?
Major Medical, boy, yeah! I help pay the doctor. Ain't that enough for you?
There are things Major Medical doesn't do. Aflac pays cash so we don't have to fret.
Something families should get. Like a safety net.
Even helps pay deductibles to cover your back with.
Help protect your family at Aflac.com.
We parked the bus in one of the best places in sport. Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin, the undefeated Super Bowl champion Packers.
14 straight wins. That Packer crowd will be rocking. Only thing I can't remember Green Bay doing is going undefeated, but they just might.
Maybe they won't. Division rivalry. Minnesota Vikings, a week off, they'll be ready to roll in this matchup.
.60 laps to go. Kurt Busch leading here at Phoenix International Raceway in the second to last race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season. Final race of the season for the NHRA is today. The Automobile Club of Southern California NHRA Finals happening at 7 Eastern tonight on ESPN2. 3 championships up for grabs there. NASCAR Now with a post-race wrap-up tonight, 10 Eastern time, ESPN2, and then it's on to the season finale next weekend at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Nationwide Series champion crowned Saturday in the Ford 300, ESPN2 at 4 Eastern. Sprint Cup championship decided Sunday in the Ford 400. Coverage ESPN at 2 Eastern next weekend. Kurt Busch out in front of this race after changing just left side tires on his last pit stop, Jamie.
That's right. What a weekend it is shaping up to be for Roger Penske. First off, yesterday, his driver Sam Hornish Jr., you see Roger Penske in the middle on the left-hand side of your screen. His driver Sam Hornish Jr., he brought over from the IndyCar Series, went to victory lane for the first time in his NASCAR career. Now here his driver is Kurt Busch leading the race after what was a tumultuous practice. The car they felt was just missing something in the front end. It wouldn't turn, and he hasn't been a good, happy driver so far this race, but now he's saying, guys, it's taken off pretty good. The car is actually really good. Alan?
Jamie, thanks. Busch feeling the heat from Carl Edwards as Carl closes in to try and grab that lead away. Last week, it was Tony Stewart being chased to the line by Edwards. Can Edwards win this one and answer back in the championship? Time to go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
Losing power shouldn't mean losing time. The Next Tech Quick Boost. Giving you a charge in just 3 minutes, getting you back to work faster. Craftsman, trust in your hands. Now hard to reach is never out of reach. The next generation Craftsman Hammerhead. It's an auto hammer, but the only one with an articulating head for superior access. Craftsman, trust in your hands.
1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
and 3.
With the Bank AmeriCard Cash Rewards credit card, earn more cash back for the things you buy most.
1% cash back everywhere, every time.
2% cash back on groceries.
3% back on gas, automatically.
No hoops to jump through.
It's as easy as 1,
2,
3. The Bank AmeriCard Cash Rewards card. Apply online or at a Bank of America near you.
Welcome to Las Vegas. Please proceed to the baggage claim on the lower level.
Yeah, NASCAR is back all right. Be there when the cars and the stars return to Las Vegas to celebrate another great year of racing. The 2011 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Champions Week. Fast, fun, loud, perfect.
ESPN, the home court of college hoops. Get fired up for the start of the season with over 24 hours of non-stop basketball. Headlining at 7 is the State Farm Champions Classic as 4 traditional powers collide. Duke versus Michigan State, followed by Kentucky and Kansas. Plus on ESPN2 at 8, the Gators clash with Player of the Year contender Jared Sullinger and Ohio State. College Hoops Tip-Off Marathon, presented by Disney Parks. The action begins Monday at midnight.
The leader, Kurt Busch, in some traffic here at Phoenix International Raceway with the 99 of Carl Edwards doing what he can to close in on that 22 car of Kurt Busch. Jamie, as we go up to speed, what do you got?
Things are looking up for him. Started this race 17th. You know, he won this race, but it was 6 years ago. Since then, he's finished in the top 10. 5 of the last 6 races here. The last stop took left sides and air pressure only. That gave him 4 positions on pit road. That gave him the lead, and he hasn't looked back. Vince?
Kurt Busch has 2 tires. Carl Edwards has 4, and Edwards is stalking. You know, they certainly want to win a race in the chase, but they have no problems winning the title without a chase victory. Remember, in 2008, Carl won 9 times during the season, won 3 chase races, but they still finished runner-up. Crew Chief Bob Osborne says, you only remember the champion. We'll take the championship no matter how we can get it. Now, the 4 car of Casey Kane continues to make a late season charge. Kane having a great run again today. Now the car has really come to him. They fought a loose rear end much of the day, but he says he really likes it now. Crew Chief Kenny Francis told me earlier today, we'd so like to get a victory before the end of the season to thank all those guys that have busted their tail for us at Red Bull. Dave?
Tony Stewart's car has not been good on this run. Darian Grubb told us that he hoped the car would come to him. Here was Tony's report about a dozen laps after that.
Yeah, but it just lost its stability on the first third of the corner here.
Go ahead and add some more front brake if you want to. Your builds have been to the rear here lately.
Yeah, I've already been on that.
That is exactly the loose end of the corner that Tony had predicted he did not want. He's dealing with it now. Also, they were 12 laps short on fuel, according to the crew chief telling the driver at the start of this run, but I don't believe he's gone into super saver mode right now. Jamie?
And his teammate Ryan Newman at 39, the best he's been. Highest position all day long, right behind him in 5th. You know, he came in here 12th in points. He may be eliminated, but to go out on top, at least up in the top 5, would be big for this team. You saw a close-up of his car. He has over 350 pictures of Vietnam veterans in honor of Veterans Day on Friday. Doc?
And right behind him and closing quickly, the 31 car of Jeff Burton, who's gone now 111 races without a victory. Man, is he ever hungry. What a great job his young crew chief, Luke Lambert, has done today. They have changed 4 tires on every stop. Now, he talked to Jeff a moment ago and said, Jeff, we may have to roll the dice on this final stop and go 2 tires, 2 left sides only, although right now they are 17 laps short on fuel. Jamie.
This has been a good racetrack for David Rudiman, and he's proving it today. He's been running at the finish in all 8 of his starts. He started this race in 7th, his 8th top 10 start of the year. The car has been pretty good. They say on the next stop, we're either doing gas only or 2 tires. Doc?
And behind him, the 43, talk about dry spells. 151 starts as of today, and A.J. Allmendinger still looking for that very first win. He qualified on the front row now for the 3rd time in 4 races here. Said, this may be my day. Not a good set of tires this run. Been able to hang on to a top 10 spot back in 8th. But thanks to after one more stop, they're about 20 laps short on fuel. Maybe that last set of tires will give them a shot at a win. Dave. Doc, we keep talking about cars coming in during the course of the run. Marcus Ambrose, running in 9th place earlier this run, wanted to reverse the last wedge adjustment. But now, and after running really, really fast times, he's faster than the leaders in some points. So they're thinking about sticking with what they have right now in the 9 car, Vince.
And the 27 of Paul Menard running in the 10th spot. Menard's your Brickyard 400 winner. We got a battle for the lead, though, first. That's Kurt Busch in the yellow car holding off, or trying to hold off, the 99 of Carl Edwards. Now that 27 car that we were talking about, Paul Menard, his crew came to town a day early, went shopping, bought sleeping bags, clothing, food, and then went through the Phoenix area giving those items to the homeless, showing real compassion here in the Phoenix area. And they've shown some heart today on the track, battling back for some mechanical issues early on, and now running 10th. A good day for the 27, Nicole.
And back up front, it's the battle for the lead. Kurt Busch, can he hold off the championship leader in Carl Edwards? You won't miss a thing when we go nonstop. Presented by Kobalt Tools.
So, you know, actually, you fit the car pretty well. I felt that he was quite cheeky, to be honest. Look, you're gonna break it. I'm telling you, I can fit. But, you know, I don't like to judge, no matter how much of a fool he makes himself look.
Do you think he's capable of driving your car?
Well, if we can get him sitting high enough in the seat, probably have to get him a kid's seat so he can see over the steering wheel. You look ridiculous in there.
True champions trust the synthetic technology of Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR. Many drivers, one oil, Mobil 1.
Hey, everyone's eating tacos outside Bill's office. Do you think that's some information I would like to know? I like tacos. You invited Eric? I thought Eric gave you the creeps. Oh. Yeah. Hey.
Don't be left behind. Get it faster with 4G. AT&T.
So, Carl, how do you train for a race?
Let's go for a spin. I'll show you.
Please slow down! Carl, you're leaving me. I thought we were going in the car.
Egg white muffin melt, high protein, won't slow you down.
Yeah, I love this part.
All right, let's go.
Hey, let's go. You're killing me.
From tasty high-protein breakfast to flavor-packed subs, Subway keeps Carl running.
Subway, where winners eat. And Glazer, too.
People think because I spend all my weekends at the racetrack, my life is predictable. Actually, things are constantly changing. And whether I need to protect my ATV, my truck, a new home, cover my home away from home, having life insurance, or a growing business, with Nationwide Insurance, I can bundle them together and save. You can too, up to 25%. So call Nationwide Insurance today to bundle and save.
Nationwide is on your side. Call 866-500-5555.
Monday, the undefeated Packers and their explosive offense led by red-hot Aaron Rodgers take on the Vikings as the defending champs continue their historic push for perfection. ESPN Monday Night Football, Vikings-Packers at 8:30.
You've been watching the race for the lead. Championship leader Carl Edwards hunting the #1 spot in today's race at Phoenix from Kurt Busch with 34 laps to go.
Kobalt Tools 500 at Phoenix is brought to you by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. 2011 Ford F-150, built Ford tough. And Bush's Baked Beans. Are you ready for game day? You are with a guaranteed crowd pleaser, Bush's Baked Beans.
Carl Edwards goes to the lead as Kurt Busch goes to pit road, hearing he is out of gas in that 22 car. Jamie Little will follow up as Kurt comes to the attention of his crew.
Right when Steve Addington told Kurt to pit, he said, out of gas, and they said, right sides only, so they were already planning on pitting. That was good luck on Kurt Busch. You see him taking a little extra time, having problems over there on the right side, getting the gas in. He's still in his pit box. He is out of gas. You see him on the front end there, helping him go. Oh, and he stalls it, trying to leave. He's trying to gotten enough in. Kurt Busch was our points leader, still stuck in his pit box. Let's go back upstairs to Allen.
Disaster for the 22 team. Played some strategy to get him out front. Now they've run the fuel tank dry, and he's going to lose a lot of ground and a chance to win.
Well, he got 2 tires on that last pit stop, and they probably did not get it full of fuel, and that's why he ran out before a lot of these other guys have. It's real short.
Casey Kane trying to close in on Carl Edwards for the lead. We've seen already green flag pit stops from Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Jeff Burton, and Kurt Busch's difficulty is going to be compounded by a speeding penalty. Too fast entering.
Well, he's out of fuel. The car wasn't running. His tack wasn't working. So you're just guessing at that point in time as a driver as to how fast you may need to be going.
Final pit stops. Joey Logano was in, Dave.
And the good news is that last time Joey came down pit road, he said the car was loose at the start of the run, but then perfect by the end. This looks like just 2 left side tires and fuel. He's out of here.
Juan Pablo Montoya's in, Doc.
Juan Pablo Montoya in for what should be his final stop of the day. Down and away, final pit stop for the 42, trying to be able to maybe get a top 15 finish here at Phoenix.
When will the leaders stop? What will they do? Will we see another caution flag between now and the checkered flag? Paul Menard in for his final stop.
Carl Edwards needs to stay out here just to make sure that he doesn't get caught by a caution, because if we heard he could go till about 18 to go. Paul Menard's in, Vince.
Yes, and Carl Edwards about 7 more laps before he pits. Edwards, left side tires only and 8 gallons of gas. He says he'd like to get through the corners better, but otherwise pretty good.
Thanks, Vincent. Let's describe, at other tracks, like last week at Texas, when the first of the leaders made the move to pit road, everybody rushed in. Here, it's the opposite for Carl Edwards is preferable.
Well, because he's in a conserve mode. What can cost him the most is getting caught, making a pit stop and the caution coming out.
Plus the fact that the tires here just aren't giving up any speed.
Yeah, and not giving up any speed, and somebody could blow a tire here as we get to this. Jamie, how about the 0-0?
And David Bruderman making his way in. Top 10 all day. Left sides it is. Fill it up with fuel, down and away. Been good on pit road all day, Doc.
Jimmy Johnson, left side tires only. Everyone talking about the cars being a little bit tight. They said left sides was freed up, 2 lefts. He is away. Here comes the 43 car. He said, I'm really tight. What are we going to do? They said left sides only. That'll help free it up. His final stop. Remember the UPS crew now pitting. Allmendinger, left side tires going on. About 8.5 gallons of fuel. He's away.
Casey Kane pits from second spot. Greg Biffle also in, Dave.
His biggest problem today, Alan, has been brakes, like his teammate Matt Kenseth. All day long, he's had a very fast race car, but very bad brakes. Right now, we're going to take just 2 tires for Biffle. Looks like right sides for the 16, and he'll be gone. Vince?
The Ford, Casey Kane, was 6th here in February. Another good run here today. A half pound out of the right rear and a round down in the right rear. He says he just needs a little bit more grip. Right sides only.
Edwards about to put Brad Keselowski a lap down. Brad lost a pile of time on pit road on his last stop. Went in 6th, came out 15th.
Been that, and he just fought the handling of this car quite a bit. He's fighting hard right now to try to stay on the lead lap.
In this cycle of green flag stops, there are only 6 cars on the lead lap. Keselowski in 6th position, not having made the final stop yet. Edwards in front of Stewart by 5.5 seconds. Then Ryan Newman, Clint Boyer, Mark Martin, and Brad Keselowski. A lot of traffic between Edwards and Stewart there, 1st and 2nd. Caution were to come out now, it would greatly work to the benefit of that 14. Matt Kenseth has called it a race. Nothing more to be gained. 17 car running among the top few in the race earlier. Began to fade with brake problems, then was crashed by Brian Vickers. Here's Carl Edwards. 21 laps to go. The leader comes to pit road. What will they do? How long will it take them? And how will the exchange play out between he and Casey Kane? Here he comes, Vince.
Crew Chief Bob Osborne remind Carl Edwards 3 times, do not speed. It's going to be right side only. And again, Edwards perfectly into the box, wheel straight, as Osborne had asked him to do 2 stops before. A smooth stop so far for the 99 crew. They give him enough fuel, and off goes Carl Edwards.
Tony Stewart, now the leader. Not yet having pitted. Ryan Newman, one of the last to come in for a pit stop. And gone. That's Edwards trying to unlap himself on Tony Stewart there. You heard Stewart being called to his pit box. And this swing of pit stops is really going to favor Casey Kane when it's all done.
I'm not sure if Carl just was very conservative on that pit road speed or whether getting hung behind Brad Keselowski cost him that much time.
Yeah, well, he lost about it.
Fuel only. Need 5 gallons. The one in around in left rear.
Fuel only here for the 14 to Tony Stewart.
Dave, here he is.
Originally, they were going to take left side tires as they did on the first pit stop of the day and then led that pile of laps. But you heard the call, just fuel to get him to the end. He skids to a stop but does not go through his pit box. It's a good thing, just a little wedge adjustment to tighten him up on that entry. That has been his handling problem.
So Stewart and Mark Martin coming off the pit lane from their final stops. There goes Edwards. And Tony rejoins. Brad Keselowski, the only one who has not made the pit stop yet in the final cycle.
You're right, Casey Kane's going to have a big lead here, and I think part of it is Edwards getting caught racing Brad Keselowski. He was about a half a second slower than what he had been. It'll be a big advantage for Casey.
There's Casey Kane in the 4. Behind Carl Edwards before the pit stop, ahead of Carl Edwards after the pit stop. There's the gap, 4 to 99. That's going to be first to second when Keselowski makes the pit stop. Casey gained about 2 seconds on that exchange.
Like Casey Kane might just take the lead from Brad Keselowski before he makes a pit stop.
Brad's fighting hard on that outside. He's got Jimmy Johnson there and Jamie McMurray. All of this is probably going to slow Casey down a little bit and allow Carl Edwards to get closer.
Tony Stewart running 5th at the moment. Edwards running 3rd. As we wait to see when and if Brad Keselowski will pit. Got nothing to lose now by staying out until the gas tank's just about dry and hope for a caution.
Yeah, the only chance he takes is running it out of fuel like his teammate did and not being able to refire.
Whoa. And a wave out the window. Is that signaling he's going to the pits here? And there it is. So Casey Kane takes the lead as Brad Keselowski makes the move to pit road. Carl Edwards has gained a second on Casey Kane in these last few laps while the 4 was caught in some of that traffic. Dave?
And of course, Alan, he'll be one of the last to run the fast laps on fresh tires, right sides only at this point. But the big downfall was the last pit stop where they lost time on pit road and fell from 6th to 15th on that restart. Brad rejoins.
Dave, thanks.
Casey Kane getting a break there from Jimmy Johnson. He told the leader was the 4 car. Jimmy pulls over.
Phoenix in recent years has been a place for breaking long dry spells. Ryan Newman, Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon. Last 3 winners here, all breaking dry spells of that amount. 81 races since his last win for Casey Kane. He's leading with 11 to go.
He has what looks like to be a pretty comfortable lead, but you still have to negotiate this place. You can't make any mistakes here, and he's going to have traffic to deal with.
2 tenths quicker than he is, but let's squeeze the trigger and get up there and get him now.
Only place in the point system, the way that it works, that it's not 1 point per position, is the difference between first and second. And it would be huge for Carl Edwards to win this race to get a little more gap on Tony Stewart, a little more.
Oh yeah, they're going to go hard for this win. He's going to keep digging just as hard as he can because that's worth a lot. Those just extra points there. Just a couple extra points makes a big difference right now.
And Tony Stewart actually lost a spot on the pit exchange to Jeff Burton, who's up in that third spot now, having a great run here today.
Yep, there's Burton in the cat car, and Stewart showing back in fourth. We're at the second to last race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season. An afternoon-long fight between Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart. Stewart has led the most laps on the day. 2 pit stops ago, an adjustment on his car, got the handling off just a little bit. He faded back to 4th place. Now after an exchange of stops, he's running 5th. Edwards was the leader going to the final pit stops. He lost the lead on the exchange of stops to Casey Kane. Now he's trying to run Kane down and answer back Stewart's streak of 2 straight wins as we get set for the finale next week in South Florida.
Looking at Tony Stewart's lap times, his car's better. They made an adjustment. They didn't change tires, but they did make an adjustment when they got fuel, and his car seems to have come back to life. Look, if the caution would come out, he might still be in it.
I think he would settle right now for just getting up there and maybe passing Jeff Burton and getting that 1 more point.
Tony Stewart has led 160 laps today. Right now he's 4.2 seconds back, and a caution could turn the whole thing around. Set up a short sprint to the finish, though we have not seen the yellow flag in nearly 100 laps.
See Tony there with hand out the window, thanking Dale Earnhardt Jr., who gave him the entry into turn 3. He's gaining on Burton a little bit.
Tony Stewart said he wanted to take the championship by storm. Wanted to win the last 2 races for much of the day today. In position to do that. Conditions, adjustments, whatever it is in the late going of the day have not fallen in his favor. While Carl Edwards has done just what he's done for most of this chase. Steady, solid, strong. Running in the top few most all race long. Can he find a way to get to the point, take the lead away from Casey Kane, and gain a little extra gap on Tony Stewart?
This 4 car's been really fast. This is what we saw in practice on Friday and thought that we may see. And then when today the race started, he was back in 15th to 20th a lot of the race, but now showing that muscle.
Remember, it was on the first pit stop when most of the leaders changed just 2 tires. Casey Kane's team took 4. He gave up a lot of that track position. They spent a while trying to gain it back. Kane, crew chief Kenny Francis, leaving this team at the end of the season to go to Hendrick Motorsports. Red Bull leaving the sport. This team, all the people who work on these cars, their future in doubt. They continue to try and find a buyer for the Red Bull Racing team. And Kane continues to show them there's something there.
Yeah, I think it just proves just what a good combination Kenny Francis and Casey Kane are, because they knew coming into this year that it was a 1-year deal for them regardless of what happened to Red Bull. And here at the end of this thing, they're running as good as ever.
Yeah, and I think that you have to consider Kenny Francis and Casey Kane championship contenders when they go over to Hendrick Motorsports right from the start.
2 to go.
2 to go. 35 at 20 behind you. You still got the 16 between you and him. You're doing good. 2 to go.
Edwards not able to cut into the gap anymore. Those first few laps after the exchange of pit stops, when he knocked the second off, it's settled right there at that 1 second. Edwards trying to catch Casey Kane for the win. Tony Stewart getting under Jeff Burton for 1 point toward the championship on the final lap of the race.
Now Burton had been slipping a little bit. Looked like he's having a hard time with his car right in the center. Tony taking advantage of that adjustment they made to get that spot.
Edwards and Stewart going to go to the season finale. Oh, so close in the championship. Today, though, at Phoenix, it's about Casey Kane and Red Bull Racing scoring the win, breaking a long dry spell. Casey Kane wins the Kobalt Tools 500. Carl Edwards finishes second. Tony Stewart finishes third. They go to the finale separated by 3 points, 3 running positions on the racetrack. There's Jay Fry.
Way to go. Thank you. Way to go, guys. Awesome job today. Thanks, Kenny.
Talked about Jay Fry, the man who's trying to find a way to find a buyer for this team. Keep it in business. Keep it going. He was pictured there a minute ago in the celebration. Kenny Francis and Casey Kane celebrating the win at Phoenix, Vince.
Kenny Francis, just one more race after this one before you leave the Red Bull deal and go over to Hendrick Motorsports. What's it mean to you to win this race for all those guys who worked so hard for you?
I tell you what, this is unbelievable. I couldn't be prouder of the shop, you know, the Red Bull race team. The whole thing's just unbelievable. I mean, as hard as the guys have worked all year on all these race cars and putting them together and building us just superb equipment, I'm just so proud and so happy that we could win this for all them guys back in the shop. I mean, just every department back there, from the chassis shop to the bodies to the guys that bolt them together and paint them. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. I think this is probably the biggest win ever for me personally and probably for Casey.
Well said. Alan?
Biggest win ever, and it's their 11th win together. Casey Kane and Kenny. And Kane providing us with our Goodyear winning moment. The big burnout on the front straightaway at Phoenix. September of 09, the last time Casey Kane went to victory lane in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. He's done it today at Phoenix and used up that engine in the process of the burnout. All the victory celebration coming up after we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Kobalt Tools.
Now you can know your home inside and out. Introducing MyLowe's, a revolutionary new way to keep track of, organize, and manage your entire home. Register your home at Lowe's.com. Lowe's, never stop improving.
You'd be shocked how much data you use in a month. Email, status updates, finding your way, uploading photos, downloading an app, and another app. Kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, all stacking up until you reach your limit. And what happens if you go over? With Sprint, you don't have to worry. Only Sprint offers truly unlimited data.
Whatever you want, whatever you need, low prices guaranteed. You can have it now, you don't have to wait. You can buy a lease to own the Aaron's way. Nobody beats Aaron's, nobody. Nobody beats Aaron's, nobody.
These drivers demand the most from their tires. They choose Goodyear. And everything we've learned making these tires inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Spectacular day at Phoenix International Raceway. Looking down on Casey Kane, who's driven into victory circle from Goodyear. Goodyear and NASCAR are saluting America's armed forces, and you can join them and give back by helping support our troops. Visit Goodyear.com/support our troops to learn more. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Casey Kane in Napa victory lane. Let's head down and hear from him. Vince?
Casey Kane celebrating his first win in over 2 years, ending a career-long winless streak. Been a drought, but boy, how good does it feel to be back in victory lane, Kenny?
It feels so good. It's been a long time coming. This whole Red Bull team's done an unbelievable job to keep working so hard. Kenny Francis, Keith Rodden, everybody at Red Bull, the car, the Toyota engine. I mean, it was a great run today. The guys did an awesome job. We fell back a little bit early, and then came back and just kept getting it better. So these guys haven't given up in the last, 3 months. So it's been really cool. I want to thank Sprint, all the fans were coming out. The track was really cool. It was slippery early, but as the tires built heat and we got rubber on the track, the Goodyear tires came in pretty good, and it ended up being a great race. I'm really excited.
You guys have had so much success here down the stretch. What's been the key to the resurgence of this team?
Well, I think just not giving up. I think the one big thing is working with Kenny Francis. That guy, as hard as he works, I want to work as hard, and I want to do as much as I can to be up front. I know Keith's the same way, and all these Red Bull guys are behind him. So it's been really exciting to do that. I want to also say this is for my grandma. We lost my great-grandpa last week, and this is for her and my mom. So it feels good to win, for sure. He was a huge fan, huge supporter.
Congratulations. Alan?
Casey Kane emotional in victory lane, and Casey talked about not giving up. All of those guys don't know if they've got a job in 2 weeks' time, but they're still working and turning out race-winning race cars.
Yeah, it says a lot about them. It says a lot about the leadership over there, too.
Yeah, and when those guys were here, talk about work, hard work, dedication. They ran more laps in the test and practice here than anybody else.
So Casey Kane winning the race. Now let's talk championship. Carl Edwards finished second. Tony Stewart finished third. So Carl would have gained 1 point on Stewart today, but Stewart led the most laps in the race. Got a bonus point toward the championship for that. So they played to a draw today here in Phoenix, and they go to the season finale separated by 3 points, 3 positions on the racetrack. A head-to-head race for the title. Everyone else, Kevin Harvick on down, eliminated for the championship. 2 men, 1 race, head-to-head on the track. Jamie?
And what a race it was today. Nose to tail, side by side with Tony Stewart. Tell me what you said about Tony when you got out of the car.
He's a pretty good driver. that was a lot of fun. That's what we need to come here and do. Run well, finish in front of that 14. Still had the points lead going into Homestead. It's just a huge day, for Aflac, Ford, Subway, Scott's, Kellogg's, all these fans, sold out place, and now we keep it interesting for Homestead. So I'm just so proud of my guys. They did a great job on pit road. Bob did a really good job with the strategy, and I'm as happy as I can be for Casey, to get beat by someone. He's a good guy, and he races clean, and I know it's a real special one for him. So now we go to Ford Championship weekend. Couldn't be better. I'm excited. It's going to be a battle.
Let's talk about Homestead. You've won 2 of the last 3 races there. I know you're sitting here trying to crunch the numbers. How many laps? You just need to beat them, basically. How good do you think your chances are over the 14 there?
I think they're good, but I truly believe it's going to be a good race. They ran so well at Vegas. They ran well at Texas. They're going to be on their game. But, that place is magical for us, and I really enjoy going there. I love racing there. And, at the end of the day, I hope it's a good, hard race, and I hope it comes down to the fastest car winning this championship. That would be cool.
A lot of fun to watch. Couldn't be 2 more opposite guys going for the championship here.
And how about Ford versus Chevy and Edwards versus Stewart? How good is that? Doesn't get any better than that. Now, Tony, it looked like for much of the day you had the car to beat. You led 160 laps. And then with the 2 stops prior to the end, I heard Darian apologize for an adjustment that seemed to cost you. What happened?
Well, he shouldn't apologize for it. I mean, we just made another air pressure change, and we finally got too far on it. So we had an awesome Mobile One Office Depot Chevy today. And the Arctic Home program with Coca-Cola, we were proud of that. And Sprint and everybody, just an awesome day. We're still where we need to be. We just did almost everything we needed to do. We led the most laps, and just came up 2 spots shy, but just was a little bit too loose on entry the last 2 runs there, and thought Darren made a really good call there with just gas only at the end, and be able to run Jeff down there and get back to 3rd there. So we're keeping him honest.
Now, we talk about that final pass. So with 9 laps to go, you climb up on the steering wheel and you run Jeff Burton down and make the pass. How important was that?
Well, we'll see next week. I mean, it could come down to that. So, every point counts right now. And, that's why we race Carl so hard and Casey so hard, was to make sure that we let enough laps to lead the most laps today. So, we're going for every single point we can get right now.
Tony, 3 points. 2 men, 1 race, and 1 championship. How do you win it at Homestead next week?
Just keep doing what we're doing. I mean, we got a 3rd and 2 wins in the last 3 races, so we're going to keep the pressure on him, and we're going to make him sweat it out.
Tony Stewart, 1 to go and 1 to win a title. How about that, Alan?
I love it, Doc. And we do go to the season finale with basically Tony Stewart racing head-to-head for the championship. They basically raced head-to-head for much of this race. Thoughts on what you see from these two, what you saw today and what you see looking ahead to next Sunday?
Well, I think what we've seen is just what we've seen in this chase. These are the two best drivers and teams right now. They're doing everything they need to do. They took a racetrack that was a big unknown to them and battled it out right here today. One of them, Tony, led the most laps. Carl was right there. Looked like he might have a chance to win at the end. So these are two championship drivers, both Tony being a former champion, but both will be great champions, whichever one it is, when we leave next week.
Yeah, both of these teams are at the top of their game. And, you know, what Carl Edwards did, his car wasn't really that good in the beginning, but they worked on it, got it better and better, made good pit calls, good pit stops, didn't make any mistakes. You know, make that last green flag stop and came out there with a good finish and maintained the point lead.
And so Edwards and Stewart finishing 1 position apart, 1 point apart today. And again, with Tony leading the most laps, they played to a draw today. And now next weekend, it goes down to a heads-up race in the season finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. So you've been in these final races trying to clinch a championship before. Does it basically being heads-up ease or add pressure on driver, crew chief, and pit crew?
It's pressure, I promise you. You're not going to sleep well. I don't care if you're the leader or you're the crew chief or driver of the second place car. You're just not going to sleep well because it means so much. You work so hard for this, and when it comes down to you can just about reach out and touch it, it's going to be a long week for these guys.
Yeah, they're going to have to talk about it a lot. Obviously, a lot of press conferences, giving their opinions, what they're going to do. And, you know, when you look at Homestead, you would normally give Carl Edwards the advantage. 2 out of the last 3 races, he's won there. You think about how fast that Ford is there. But Tony Stewart and his Chevrolet here, I mean, my gosh, they've just been incredible in this chase. So I expect them to battle for the win, and then whoever wins this race could possibly be the champion. That's the way it's designed to be.
My opinion, this is one that resonates with me because it's not a 15th or better or 9th or better. They're going to race for it head-to-head for 400 miles next Sunday at Homestead Miami Speedway. That on the chase. Now let's talk about today's race some more with some of the other top finishers on today. Another good finish for Jeff Burton, Doc.
Third top 10 finish in the last 4 races, talking about building momentum for next year. And Jeff, that final battle, you and Tony Stewart, he was trying to take it and you were trying to keep that spot.
Well, you know, he's right now. Every point means everything right now, and we got really tight there at the end, and he had a lot of momentum, and I didn't I didn't slam into him or anything, but I wasn't gonna give him the spot, but he earned it and got it, and it was a good day for us. Caterpillar Chevrolet was good really all day, and real proud of everybody. You know, when things are tough, it's you find out what people are made out of, and my group has just kept digging and kept their heads up, and real proud of everybody because nobody's quit on this team, not once, and I'm real proud of that.
What has turned it around for you guys? These last 3 or 4 races, you had a chance to win it at Talladega, had just a little bit short on fuel at Texas. I mean, you've had some shots, big change over the past month or so.
Well, you know, it's we've always worked hard, and this thing we didn't get in this hole because of one person. We just were looking at things wrong, and we've started changing how we're looking at things. I've gotten a little more involved in trying to understand exactly what's in the cars, because that's really. It's really a departure for me not to be involved. So I've become a little more involved, but that hadn't had much to do with it other than me understanding what's in the car. I think that does matter. So just a lot of work, a lot of effort, and everybody's just hitting the right buttons right now.
A great run today.
Thank you.
Jeff Burton, a 4th place finish, 2nd top 5 of the year. Jamie Little.
And Ryan Newman finished 1 position behind him, his first top 5 in the chase. And you guys weren't too happy to start, but the second half, your car really came around. How much did this track change?
It didn't change a whole lot, I don't think. We were really tight to start, and obviously the track position was horrible starting 30th. But guys on the U.S. Army Chevrolet with the Veterans Day special paint scheme, that was an amazing comeback for us to go from 30th to 5th. Really proud of that. Tony kept himself in the hunt, and we're just doing all we can. That was a good run for us today. We had a good day on pit road. We've had some struggles here in the chase on pit road, but to come back from where we did and start from where we did and end up talking to you now, it's a good day. So, and we're also talking about the polar bears, Coca-Cola polar bears, trying to help them out for their habitat up in the Antarctic this year too. So
that's a good job. We like polar bears.
I mean, it's refreshing Coke. Thinking about nice, cool atmosphere.
Good job, Ryan.
I'm hot and sweaty.
Okay, I was just going to ask you one more question with your teammate, Tony Stewart, in the championship hunt. How have things changed in the organization? How focused are even you guys in helping him get it?
We're really just doing our job. I mean, our job is to get our car as fast as we can, and if his car or his team is struggling, they have those notes to go off of, and that's basically as simple and as complex as it is. Obviously on the racetrack we do everything we can to help and not take away from each other, and we never had any situations to have to worry about that today, but mostly it's just business as usual and making sure we share our notes and dot all our I's and cross all our T's.
Running top 5, you're helping your teammate out. Good job, Ryan Newman. Dave?
Jamie, in the first Phoenix race this year, A.J. Allmendinger, a top 10 on the old Phoenix. On the new Phoenix, actually ran as high as second, and then a top 10 again, a 6th place finish, A.J. So I guess it doesn't matter what they build here, you're going to run well.
I like to think so. The Wix Filters Ford was really fast. Greg Irwin, all the guys back at RPM, everybody here at the racetrack and back at the shop, just built a great race car. And I really thought we had a chance to win the thing. We were up front all day. Once we get a long run in, I could run down Tony and Carl and start catching them. I really thought we had a good chance. And that second to last restart, or the last restart basically, just didn't have the tires that agreed with us. We just got a little bit loose and got swallowed up on the restart. Tony got loose in front of me, and we fell back to like 11th or 12th, and just from there on had to fight back. But the car was so fast. I was having so much fun driving, probably the most fun I've ever had. And these guys are doing a great job. I really want to win for them by the end of the year. Hopefully at Homestead we can do it, but we're getting closer. It feels okay right now. Feel better tomorrow the way we ran, but I really wanted to win this thing. But Tony Hirschman, my spotter, everybody kept me calm. It was a good day.
Well, based on how you ran it, do you think they should do anything to it at all, change-wise? The track, that is?
Just let me start up front on the last restart, and then we'll be good. No, it was... The race was actually pretty good, for what I thought the track was going to be like on Friday here, and it was so fast and so one groove. I felt like we could really race. You still had to be careful. You got in the dirt, you were really screwed, so it was still a little bit treacherous, but I thought it was good racing, and it seemed like for the whole time I was up front enough to see there's battle for the lead the whole time. So hope the fans enjoyed it. It was a sellout crowd, fun day. Go to Homestead and try to win this thing.
Good racing remains at Phoenix, even in the new configuration. Vince?
With Jay Fry and Jay, the Vice President General Manager of Red Bull Racing, trying to take those victory pictures. This is a good inconvenience to have, but congratulations on the win. What does this do for the efforts of trying to get this team back next year in the series?
Well, it certainly does a lot. Obviously, this is why we do it. Casey and Kenny, everybody in this team's done a phenomenal job all year. Couldn't be more proud to have them. We knew this coming in was a one-year program, but the last couple of months has been, incredible what we've done. If the team would have been the chase, I think we're second, third in the points, something like that right now. So it's a great team. Obviously, winning doesn't hurt anything, so we'll see what happens this week.
Congratulations. Thanks, Jay. Alan?
Vince, thank you. Carl Edwards paid a visit to Casey Kane, and congratulations there in victory lane after Kane scores the win here at the Phoenix International Raceway, continuing the trend of this racetrack breaking long dry spells. Yeah, this was the last one for Casey before today, Labor Day weekend 2009. Driving that red 9 car then when he scored the win at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Well, lots happened since then, but they've been really, really strong. We've talked about them getting to victory lane. They made it happen today.
And I want to just pay off just for a second what this might do for the efforts to find an investor in this Red Bull Racing team. Jay Fry, I mentioned earlier, but Jay told me this morning that there are conversations ongoing, but they didn't really expect anything to be firmed up with anyone till at least after Thanksgiving, but still remain hopeful. I guess if you're going to showcase what you got, this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, when you have a commodity that you can say won a cup race, then you've got something there. I'm sure that anybody coming in would say, well, can't we keep Kenny Francis and Casey Kane along with the deal? But it does show that they have the people in place there that could make something still work.
And I'll tell you what else they have. They have great equipment. We heard Kenny Francis say that, and thanking all these guys at the shop. They build some of the nicest race cars in that garage area, so I hope they can keep it going and keep good drivers in that car and keep going to victory lane.
Yeah, and Jay Fry's a big part of that. He does an excellent job of surrounding himself with really good people. He knows what it takes to put these race teams together and make things happen.
A group that doesn't know what their future is beyond the next couple of weeks, pulling off a victory today here in Phoenix. And by the way, notice how none of those comments from the drivers post-race, until we asked A.J. Allmendinger about it, had anything to do with new pavement, reconfiguration, hard tires. Saw a good race today here at Phoenix International Raceway.
Got to give them a good grade on it.
And we move on next weekend to the season finale. Great racetrack, great race. and heads up for the championship. Homestead Miami Speedway for the Ford 400. ESPN Sunday 2 Eastern. There are tickets available for the race. NASCAR.com/tickets if you'd like to join us in South Florida. Talking with more of the top finishers from today's race. Paul Menard finished 9th, Doc.
And a career best finish for Paul here at Phoenix International Raceway. And you talk about a battle today, Paul. We talked a moment ago. How many gremlins did you guys have to overcome in the first half of this race?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the last 13 races have been really rough for us, and the way the race started out wasn't much better. We had a motor issue earlier on that is vibrating and is missing, but it seemed to fix itself the last 100 laps for whatever reason. Normally that doesn't happen with the motor, but we'll figure out what that was, and pitted under green and caution came out, so we got caught on pit road a lap down, but got the lucky dog, and Slugger did some two-tire strategy there to get us back in the top 10, and the best the car was that last run. I wish we had another 50 laps. We could have run some other guys down, but just a good shot in the arm. We needed a good run.
You've run so well on mile-and-a-half track this year, our final race of the year at Homestead Miami. What's the mindset for you guys? I know you guys like running there, and it's one of your better racetracks.
Yeah, I really do enjoy Miami. It's a true oval. It's got the progressive banking, so you can run all over the place. It's a lot of fun, and every time we go there, it makes you want to come back for more because it is a very racy track and it's a lot of fun. But we're just going to go in there with coming off a top 10, just try to do that again.
Hey, good luck to you next week.
All right, thank you.
Paul Menard, a 9th place finish today, first ever top 10 here at Phoenix International Raceway, and first top 10 in quite a while here toward the end of the year in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Alan?
Doc, thanks. And so as the fans begin to file out on what turned out, after forecasts of a 50% chance of showers, and indeed showers this morning, to be a spectacular day here in Phoenix. They saw a race where Casey Kane broke a long dry spell, and Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards set themselves up for a phenomenal season finale. And all of the talk about the track reconfiguration and so on, touched on it briefly a minute ago, but none of that turned out to be a factor in the day.
No, as we came here, we thought that the track was going to be the story. What was going to happen? Could it change the way the championship was going to look as we headed to Homestead? But no, it provided a great race out here. Goodyear brought a good tire. These drivers did a terrific job. It still had its moments to where if you didn't respect it and tried to do a little bit too much, you could get yourself in trouble. But a great job by all.
Yeah, it was good. The track surface was good, and it was getting better all day long. I think as it goes, this is going to be one of the better racetracks on the circuit for racing. We saw some 3-wide stuff today.
Congratulations to the Phoenix International Raceway on a terrific day. And Nicole, as our heroes ride off into the sunset, well, actually they ride east away from the sunset and head towards South Florida. We look ahead to a spectacular season finale.
Certainly will be very entertaining to watch. A couple of championships being handed out tonight in the NHRA. Check it out on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock Eastern. And NASCAR Now tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. Oh, whatever will they talk about after today's race. And then next weekend we head to Homestead Miami Speedway for Ford Championship Weekend. First off, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Elliott Sadler on Saturday in the Nationwide Series race. And then, of course, it's the Ford 400 Sunday, 2 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Some perspective here as we head into this final race of the season. The last time we went into championship weekend and Jimmy Johnson was not a factor, it was 2003. Wow. Jimmy Johnson has never finished worse than 5th when he's been in this series full-time. Right now, he is 5th in the championship.
Well, he won't be 5th next year. I will tell you, every time a driver is kind of beat down, he loses, and he really struggles, I will promise you they'll come back with vengeance. Hendrick Motorsports, they'll go to work on their cars, they'll go to work on their engines, they'll go to work on their pit stops. These guys are tough characters, and they do not want to lose. And I bet you next year you're going to see him more.
Yeah, but it was really odd to watch Jimmy Johnson struggle today.
Yes.
Especially like you say, this time of year, that team usually rises to the top. And really had a tough day today. Didn't run very well at all. And it's just interesting. I think Rusty's right, though. I think this team will hit rock bottom if they can hit rock bottom and come back with a vengeance next year.
Next week, we head to Homestead Miami Speedway, where for the past 5 years, Jimmy Johnson has hoisted that Sprint Cup Series trophy. This year, it's down to 2 men, Carl Edwards, Tony Stewart, and something stood out to me earlier when we were talking to Carl Edwards. He said, Miami is magical for us.
It's magical for him, and I'll tell you one reason why. Every time I see Carl Edwards at that particular track, he's one of the best guys to get around the top groove at that track. At Homestead, you got to run the very top groove, basically in both ends, more 3 and 4 than any. And Carl Edwards is fantastic at doing that at that particular racetrack. So when a driver has got confidence going to a track like that, Brad, I mean, that's incredible. It's very powerful for him.
Well, and you saw Tony Stewart today. I mean, he absolutely was willing that race car, along with good pit stops, Good calls by Darian Grubb. At the end of the day, they had a little air pressure snafu that may have cost him the race, but they're right there in it. He's been in it every week. We're going to Homestead with these guys going toe-to-toe.
If I had said to you in Daytona, after 35 races, we would be down to 2 drivers with just 3 points. No way?
No way.
No way?
No, I wouldn't have think there's no way. I wouldn't have think there'd have been no way this week that we went in with 3 points between the two, and we still have 3 points between the two. It's amazing shootout. These guys will not let anybody get up between them. They're really on it.
9 races down, 1 to go. We'll be back next weekend, the Ford 300 at Homestead Miami Speedway, Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2, and Sunday, the Ford 400 at Homestead Miami Speedway, where we will crown a Sprint Cup Series champion. Coming up next, it is Sports Center. Congratulations once again to today's winner, Casey Kane and Red Bull. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
Just a classic fight for the championship between these two.
Let's go out here and have some fun. All right, boys, let's just do what we've been doing.
Side by side, Stewart and Edwards. Busy hands inside that 99. Martinsville payback.
Under the hood. Done.
1 point toward the championship on the final lap of the race. Casey Kane breaking a long dry spell